Well, this large ET replica thing back here, I worked it into the budget of new furniture for this house when we moved, and I basically made a deal with my wife. I was like, okay, look, I won't build my shelves. I'll wait and build my shelves like 3 phases from now. So it's like several months. Later this year, if I can get the ET. And I don't have anything to put the ET on. It's on like a really old kitchen island that we had left over from the last place. So it's made from the original mold of the.
Really?
Yeah, like one of the original. The mold was made from one of the original stunt ETs. And so it's like hyper accurate. It was like $400 on Amazon.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. But it's bad if. It's still $400 for a life-size ET.
Right.
You know what I mean? As a grown man.
Yeah, but like,
not bad,
movie memorabilia and stuff like that. I mean,
it actually wasn't hard to convince my wife. She was very, very
Good.
So we're both reckless and irresponsible with our money. Is the point?
Okay, what's going on with my
Look, no one showed up. It's okay. I don't bring a lot of an audience.
There we go. Now I can see it. Rev and Jeremy, what up, Jeremy? I'm going to take our faces to the stream. Change the stinger. Got the stinger. There we go.
oh,
Just test this out. Let me make sure that. Boom, boom. All right, I got the Mograph logo back on. We're good. All right.
Dave, I just added to the drop.
Should probably turn on my audition. Are you added to the drop? You jerk.
Yeah. Sorry.
You
know what? And I don't think I had hit enter.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
What's in it now?
There's actually like 5 more.
God.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you change the nifty stuff, or it's just the stuff at the bottom?
No, it's just the stuff at the bottom.
Okay, that's easy.
Those are community drops and stuff,
Oh,
so just
good.
add that to that section.
I was worried because we didn't have a lot of community drops.
Yeah.
So, copy, paste. That. Hold on. Captivating entertainment. The problem is, here's what I don't like about. Oh wait, is that working? That worked. Okay. I couldn't edit your thing, so it was pulling in.
I know, it's so stupid. Notion should allow you to edit other people's comments.
It makes sense that
or
you
there should be like a
can't,
global okay to let you do that.
or something. Yeah.
Gosh, I love this new microphone arm. Like it's just
Mine is so
it's
squeaky.
long and in my face. I love it.
Let me see. I'm going to put these notes over here so I have them later. Because that's my problem, is I have to be able to click on them. What episode is this? 280?
280 according to the thing.
Okay. All right. Cool. I think we are golden. Gold, Jerry.
Stay golden, pony boy.
I saw that episode the other day. It's gold, Jerry. That's so obscure now. All right, everybody have their audio recording device ready to go?
I am rolling, yes.
Okay, I am now rolling as well. Check 1 2 1 2. Okay. And is everybody ready to do a sync clap now for the audio?
Do it.
All right, here we go. 1 2 3. All right.
Sounded right on my side.
Yeah. I didn't even have to tell Seth what we were doing. I just said 1 2 3. I didn't even say what the process was.
I don't hear you.
Amazing.
We don't hear you.
Did he say anything?
I wasn't
He
talking.
didn't say anything.
No, I am. Guys, I've heard the podcast. I'm not, I'm not.
Oh, you're just
pretending.
You're
I know what
just
I'm doing.
saying that. You're just saying.
Oh,
that.
you're too nice.
It's easy to say that after I do a sync clap, but no, I actually have. Listen, I am very loosely familiar with the structure of the show.
Awesome.
Thank you. That's nice.
Well, good.
That's
We
great.
mark sync clap off my list of things that I was excited to do.
Well, everybody, meet our viewer.
Right.
Seth. Seth is our viewer of the show. At least we have one. All right, I'm rolling. I think everybody's rolling. I think we're ready to go. I got my notes up, and we're good. Well, let's do it.
You don't hear it when I move this thing around?
I don't. Do you hear this? Because it's squeaking so loud. It's such a great thing, but
just a little bit.
WD-40.
I'll do it too. Do we hear this?
See?
Nope. See?
Really?
That's when you can
these
tell.
plastic
It's
joints.
good quality.
It's a $200 freaking arm. It better work.
Mine is like $15 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we had the $15 one.
Yeah.
But then it would only reach to here, so I always had to move over.
Well, and you guys both have the most beautiful mics in the world. I've got the one that looks like a bar mitzvah mic if you take the foam thing off, but it sounds incredibly good. The one Marco Element,
Is it the SM58? Just a standard?
No, it looks like an SM58, but it's an Audio Technica something that.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It sounds shockingly good, but it looks very unprofessional.
Looks fine.
Yeah,
looks
I'm
fine.
in
Let's
love
see,
with this
hang on.
mic. It's so good.
For this podcast.
Oh yeah, it does.
There.
Yeah, it does look like an SM58.
Welcome everyone to open mic night at the to bingo night at the Corral.
See, and I can't even hear that either. You'd think you'd be able to hear that.
You hear it a
Wow,
little.
I need to
It's
be
not bad.
more violent.
Oh,
in
you know what?
podcasts
No,
now.
that's. I guarantee you're probably recording that though. It's Skype, because Skype, cleans up all the noise and everything.
You're right.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let's do a show.
all right, let's do it.
All right. Let me move this up here. Here we go. All right. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt, and joining us today is the super talented Mr. Seth Worley.
Hello.
And Mograph is
Thank
a
you,
supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, show topic ideas, artist suggestions. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and mograph.com, of course. And you can send us anything you would like to hear about on this show to our email address. So, for those of you who are like, you don't talk enough about such and such, literally send us an email and tell us what you want to hear about, and we'll
And if you do say, you talk too much about such and such, don't send us an email.
Yeah. I mean, I do say you can send
grievances. Grievances.
Yeah, but
Send
just
in
be
your...
nice about the grievances. Don't be like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you talk so much about render engines. Nobody wants to hear
Worst episode ever.
that. Yeah, there you go. Don't be comic book guy. That's all I request. So, noob or expert, if you have a beginner question, please do not hesitate to ask. We really like to get beginners into this industry with the show. And if you're a noob and some of this terminology and things don't quite make sense, just trust me, just stick with it for a little bit. You're going to hear so many buzzwords and so many technical words and all of the things, but eventually they're going to start to osmose into your head brain.
Yeah.
So, don't get frustrated about that. You'll absorb it. I used to listen to a show called Security Now back when I used to commute to work and things. And whenever I did that, I had no idea what he was talking about half the time. Networking, packets, and all that kind of stuff. And then I just started kind of understanding it just because I kept hearing it over and over. So if you're new, stick with it. If you're an old pro and you really want to dive deep into a subject, let us know. Send us an email.
I mean, I still don't know what I'm talking about half the time.
Neither do I.
I
don't know what I'm talking about 99% of the time. I just fake it.
I always know what I'm talking about. I'm in full control of the ship at all times.
I'm like, Ray Epsilon.
I believe that. I believe that.
Ray Epsilon. That's a new Ghostbusters character.
Right.
Yeah. So this week we've been very, very busy. Extremely busy with all the things, and we've got more projects than we can handle, which is great. We feel very fortunate, but we've been so busy that we don't have any notes in general. We don't have a lot from the past week. So again, another reason that it's really nice to have people email, because if we're having a bad week, and I say bad week as in we're having a good week, but we're not having a lot of, I'm not sitting there surfing the interwebs finding articles to talk about. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So that's why that's helpful. It's been a very busy week, so it will be a short show.
It was so busy, I could tell that it was busy. It was so busy that I got my notification for my screen time on my phone, and I was down on average 2 hours a day.
Wow. You're not
Which
on
is
TikTok
like
enough.
I'm not. No, it's like I get done work and I go to bed.
My phone thinks I'm dead at that point. It like alerts the authorities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like a fall alert, but he's not using his phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, when you don't have
I
time
mean,
for
it did
TikTok.
go down from 8 hours to 5 hours a day,
8 hours a day?
Yeah, but I don't know how accurate that is.
Oh.
Like I feel like
accurate. I think
there is no way that I can be on my phone 8 hours a day.
I would say that that's an accurate number. Based on what numbers you have compared to what numbers I have. Because I don't think I'm on my phone half as much as you are. And mine says 4 hours a day.
Yes, but I also do all my like Slack and
TikTok
stuff. TikTok, yeah, on my phone.
And TikTok.
I don't know. And TikTok. Lots of TikTok.
And TikTok.
Yeah, there's
Mostly
always
TikTok.
at least a couple hours of TikTok.
Dude, I spend way too much time on it. Dorpy is on TikTok, by the way. If you want to check out Dorpy. It's not just clips from the show. Dorpy actually is doing his own TikToks every once in a while. So make sure you check out mograph.com on TikTok.
Yeah.
And so we're going to, it's going to be a short show. We're going to learn a lot about Seth today because we don't have any other topics to talk about. And first of all, week wrap up, just a couple quick things I wanted to talk about here. Number one, get well soon, Ren. Because Ren has busted his freaking collarbone, I guess.
Yeah, his collarbone.
Yeah, so that's going to suck for doing videos for a little bit. So
how'd that happen? I didn't follow that at all.
I don't know. Did he fall off his one wheel?
Yeah, he fell off his one wheel.
I should have assumed that's how it happened.
Right.
But
I mean, I didn't know. I just assumed.
He's okay, right? It's okay to make that joke.
Yeah.
He's good.
He's good? I mean,
he posted on Instagram. He's
didn't he also get hit by a car on his one wheel?
Oh,
I remember that. I'm pretty sure that did happen. Yes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's hopefully okay.
Yeah, but he showed the X-ray on Instagram. Like you can see his shattered bones inside of his.
Oh, see, if he fell off a one wheel, it's still cooler than the way I did that in high school, which was on a razor scooter going downhill, somehow trying to impress a girl on a razor scooter.
Man, isn't it always impressing the girls? That's the one bone that I broken was my ankle dropping into a bowl, skateboarding when I was 25 years old.
And you know what? It works. They're always impressed.
She was not impressed. She was not impressed. Nope.
/r/ never broke a bone. Wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say something. Now I forgot. Dang it.
About breaking bones? The bones?
No, it was very
the
important.
Bones are their money.
Mograph news, but now I forgot. It must not have been that important. Oh well.
So anyway, get well soon. You can start making things again, and we can start talking about him being on the show because he's gonna be on the show.
Yeah,
we're talking about it.
I just gotta message him, be like, "Hey, I remember the very important information, the very important Mograph information."
What's that?
It's Seth's birthday.
Oh yeah, it's Seth's birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Well, thank you.
So Skype has like the worst interface ever, as we all know. But what it did do was it changed the reaction emoji at the bottom because you know how much you get on Skype and you have to hit the heart button and react,
right?
Because that's what you do on Skype apparently. So it changed the heart react button to a birthday cake, and I'm like, why does this have a birthday cake all of a sudden? It just doesn't make any sense. And then I moused over it, and Skype literally says, "It's Seth's birthday today." I'm like, okay, so you can click it and balloons happen or something. Skype is dumb.
Well, but that's fun. It is dumb, but that's fun. You're right. It doesn't allow you to communicate very well, but it does generate birthday cakes.
So
accurately.
If you want to check everyone's birthday, you can just Skype every single person in your contact list every day and see if the little birthday thing
Since we don't go on Facebook anymore, how else are we going to know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Facebook's dead.
Of course, maybe it's all linked up through the chip that they put in the vaccine. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
true.
how
Wow.
they knew it was.
I'm
your
only
birthday.
half vax, so that's impressive that they got that. Well, I guess that's fundamental information.
Does that mean it's your
right there.
half
That makes
birthday?
sense. Yep, half
No,
vax birthday.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a
Other,
good day.
other things on the week wrap up, just real quick. I want to say shout out to Pickle Nick, who is killing it editing the Houdini class right now. Holy crap. Like, how many videos did he edit in the last week and a half, 2 weeks? Like 40-something videos?
You just need someone to do a really bad job to realize how good a competent person can actually, how much a competent person can get done. You know?
Yeah, I looked at the rundown. I'm like, you edited all these videos already? So 18.5 is coming out. So we've got it edited. The next step, it's got to be built into a new course, which is going to be distributed to everybody who currently has the course. And then the new course, the 18.5 Houdini course, will be the only one that is sold after that. So you can buy in now, you'll get the new course, but you will not be able to get the old course after that. So if you
I mean, it still has I mean, you're not going to be out of date, right?
Yeah, it's
as long as you're using the newest 18.5.
Basically, there are some people that I think would like to have the older version for reference.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that you can get that is if you get it now. And other people have asked about, does this have 18.5 content? Is this relevant in 18.5? Been commenting things, and my answer to that is yes. Just go ahead and buy it because you will get those 18.5 updates. If you want to wait to take it, you know what I mean? Like if you want to buy it now and wait to take it because you do want to use 18, but you want to have the old ones for reference, just go ahead and buy it. You know.
See, here's the hardest thing for me. I've already 100%ed 18. You know?
Right.
And so I'll get the 18.5 and I'm going to be back down to 0. I don't know if I can handle that. I may have to go through and take the course again.
Well, here's what
just to 100%.
What we are going to do is go through and make sure that we mark the ones that have new content so people know like this is updated or you don't have to take this one again.
Smart.
We definitely want people to know which ones are which because and that was the other thing too is I didn't want people who have 100% of the course to be like, oh, this is all messed up now because we're editing things, we're changing chapter numbers and things, and it would screw up everybody's progress report. So
no more chapter 13.
There's no, that has been changed. There's no chapter 13. It goes from 12 to 14. That's for Mark. And so that will be happening hopefully soon. He has a speaking event that he's doing on March 4th, and so we're going to make sure that we got it out.
May 4th?
Sorry, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
And also, if you missed it, go check out Mixmaster Mike on our live episode of The Drop from last Thursday. That was a lot of fun. I need to totally make a story out of your last comment there.
Yeah. Man, it's not often. It's not often that I get kind of starstruck, you know, but like, you know, Beastie Boys were a huge part of my growing up and stuff like that. And having a legend like Mixmaster Mike on the show, like I didn't feel like I could like tease or joke around or something like that, you know? Yeah. And all I wanted to do, I had so many Beastie Boys puns ready.
That's funny. You should have given them to Dorpy.
I didn't say any of them, you know, except for the last end at the end, you know?
Good. Yeah,
so
that was hilarious.
Oh, thank you, XJ Ben Bell
thank
01.
you for your spam. I'll definitely not click on that.
Be famous.
That link
thank
seems
you.
legit, right?
Right.
I'm sure it's fine. Stupid people. All right. Also wanted to say this Thursday you need to make sure you mark your calendars again and join us for another Thursday night live episode of The Drop because we will be talking with Octane Jesus, David Ariev, and Luis Miranda, along with collector Peter Costi, who is really going to give us some insight from a collector's point of view, and I think it's going to be a great discussion, especially with Ariev there, because he's just so in tune with all these collectors and everything that's going on in that space right now, and so like he's just like he's the hub, he's the center of everything right now, the Octane Jesus. He can tell us all about what's going on in that space and what people are doing, and I think it's really good to have information on how collectors are perceiving this industry, what
sure.
they're doing. And a lot of collectors like to stay private. That's the thing. It's like hard to get them on the line and actually talk. Some collectors, especially the ones that have like a lot of crypto money in the bank, they try and stay kind of anonymous, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
they don't want people trying to hack them or doing anything shady. They don't want people to know that they have. I mean, who knows? It could be like your friend or something, right? Like down the street, they're secretly like crypto rich, and they don't want people to know because then it can get weird.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to have a collector on the show and talk a little bit about that. So join us Thursday. And that's about it for week wrap-up stuff. The only thing that I had for Ravcock, I just wanted to say I'm lazy and I have not watched Jules's
It's so good.
talk yet because it's not on YouTube, and
It's good. And like, so Chad Ashley posted on the Slack yesterday, like an Arnold preview, or like he's talking about how Arnold GPU is getting really good, and it was so mega fast. I'm really interested to see that speed in Octane as well once they can get all the Arnold's standard surface stuff working in Octane. Like I think render, like being able to do all these things in one place, is going to be absolutely incredible. Because I'm like, right now we're working on a project where I'm having to render out volumetrics, and volumetrics in Octane take forever. So I'm doing all my volumetrics, my Spotlight volumetrics and stuff in Redshift, and just rendering out another pass. It'll be so much better when we can incorporate all these into one,
Yeah.
Only other thing I had on that was X particles and Octane have been weird lately. If you're using XP trails, do not change the spline type to anything but the default. Like, say your splines, if you're doing XP trails and like they're kind of segmented, normally you'd go and you'd change your spline type and make it a little bit smoother, like to a B spline or something. It's not working in Octane right now. Like when you're doing render as hair, when you throw an Octane tag on it and you do render as hair, it like totally messes everything up. So the way that I found to fix this is using a MoSpline object. So you do your normal XP Trails stuff, but then you do a MoSpline object and throw the XP Trails into the MoSpline object, and then you can change the amount of segments in there and then put your render as hair on the MoSpline, and it works just fine.
You know what I would like to see in Cinema is better control over being able to turn things off and on for the sake of speed in the viewport.
I don't know. I think that might be an S24 thing, because I know they updated the solo stuff, but I don't know if that necessarily turns everything off.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
You could say, okay, do low quality, right?
Yeah.
You can do that in the viewport, but then things disappear. It's just like an LOD thing. Like, instead of having like 100 segments, 100 cloners, it goes down to 10, whatever. What I think would be really cool is if there was a way to track down an actual issue, because that's the problem with me is I'll be working on a project that's maybe not my own, so I don't know where all the bones are buried, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of espresso, and somebody added a bunch of cloners, and there's some fields, and all this stuff is linked, and it's going slow as hell. And the first thing you do is you just turn things off to see if that works. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. You're like, oh, there's something buried in here, and something's taking up all the resources. And then you just have to go clicking around to figure it out. The problem is, half the time, if you just turn something off, it's still calculating it. And that's what makes me kind of crazy. And I'm sure there's probably a reason for that. Like, let's just say you have a null, and it's turned off for render. It's turned off for viewport. Well, anything that it's doing probably needs to be calculated, because what if you keyframed it to turn off and on the visibility and turn the thing on, right? Okay, well, that stuff's still being calculated. Now, what Gustav says, layers. The answer to that is layers, which is understandable, because if you do it And if you do it, you got to click on it. You got to select children. You got to make sure all the children are in that layer. Then you have to turn it off in render. You have to turn off, okay, is this a generator? I don't know. You turn off generators. Maybe there's some espresso in there, and you go through all of this stuff. And then you realize that that's not what was slowing the viewport down. And you're like,
right.
Okay. Because I do a layer called mute. Like 99% of the time in a large project, I have a layer called mute. And everything that I just need to shut it the hell off goes in that layer. But I wish there was a way to say, this is super laggy in the viewport right now because of this. It's just hard to track that down. And
right. It's almost like a activity monitor or a task manager of what is taking up the most. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, because I mean, there's stuff
put that in the
doesn't even make
Max
sense.
on request line.
Yeah. No, there's stuff that doesn't make sense sometimes. Like I'll have a cloner and it's got, I don't know, like something we were working on the other day. It had a bunch of triangles in it, right?
Yeah.
Literally extruded triangles. So it's like one poly extruded and the other side is 2 polys, and then the part tracing it would be 3 more. So it's 5 polys. That should be fairly okay. But it was in so many cloners, and there was espresso going on, and there was some sliders, and I don't know what else, because it wasn't my project. But I'm looking at it, and I'm like, how are 5-sided triangles making it impossible to hit play in the viewport?
I can't wait until all the... I feel like what is it? The scene manager. What's the new node system in cinema? I feel like once.
Are you talking about the nodes themselves or the scene manager?
Yeah, like the actual like nodes. I feel like once we all start working that way, things are gonna get a lot easier. You know. I don't know. I'm interested to jump into that after this project is over.
Yeah. Anyway. We had to fill some time, since we didn't think of anything. So, I got. I
freaking work for Maxon. I should have been able to chime in on that conversation.
Yeah, I was waiting.
Yeah, you do work
Here's
for
a problem.
Maxon, but you work on the Red.
I work for a company
on the
that
Red
merged
Giant side.
Maxon.
Yeah.
So now I'm working for Maxon, having to learn once again how to use Cinema 4D, which I've learned 4 times already. Right. And then I learned it for a project, and I'm like, this rules. This is so easy to learn. I now know Cinema 4D. And then I walk away from that project and forget everything I ever learned.
Right.
Yep. Isn't that the way it works?
That's how it works with quite a lot of software. The good thing about Cinema 4D, though, is you come back and it's so intuitive, it's very easy to jump back into.
I put 90% of the stuff that I know from tutorials. I just put them in the back of my brain where I'm like, I don't need to remember how to do this because I know someone who will teach me how to do this.
If you need it.
If I need it, and then I'll just go reference that.
I'll do that too, but I won't save the tutorial that I used, and I won't remember which one it was.
Right.
And I'll be like, I can find that easily. And then I don't even remember what I searched, what terms I searched to find it. And I'm like, it's there, it's out there, and it's perfect. And I don't remember what it is. Yeah. What helps me is to just make as extensive behind the scenes as I possibly can for the things. So then I can literally go back to that and be like, that's what those things are called.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I am trying, whenever I have quote-unquote free time, to get back into Ableton. Just trying to learn a lot about... I'm not really trying to make a bunch of stuff. I'm just trying to learn about it, So I might put a tutorial on when I'm working on something else or whatever. But nerd that I am, I open up Notion, and now I'm starting a Notion database, and I should have done I mean, of course, Notion wasn't around, but I should have done this years ago in some fashion, is writing down what these tutorials are and what I found and why it's a good link and what I learned. So in Notion now, I started this tutorials database, and all it is the name of the tutorial and the link. It has a tag, so you can say, okay, this is like a technical tutorial, this is a dubstep tutorial, whatever it is. But I put a section called learned, and I'll write what I learned. Like, I learned this really cool shortcut key, like Control E is to slice, or if you have a track that's a wave in arrangement view and you click on it, you hit R, it will reverse the, things like that you learn, and then the next time, just like you said, you come back and you're like, I don't remember. And it's like, I was thinking like, I know there's a really good way to take a clip and move it to arrangement view a certain way. And so I went back, I started writing this down so I actually have a record. And so now you can take that, you can reference it, you can search it, you can send it to your friends and say, hey, you want to learn Ableton? Here's what helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
so smart.
My version of my,
That's so smart. I do a version of that with story related stuff and writing related stuff, so like story structure stuff. I have a whole Airtable is like, I live on Airtable. And
what's Airtable?
It's like spreadsheets on crack.
Okay.
That's what Notion is.
It's
a competitor.
I don't know. I'm familiar with Notion. I've used it a little bit, but Airtable is. I'm not familiar enough with Notion to say how
it looks. Yeah, just from
looking at
it looks similar.
Gosh,
Looks
very
similar.
it does.
Man, I live on the thing. I have like shortcuts that like speak to and talk to Airtable, but like I've got one with story structure stuff that's like this entire database of like every possible resource I've learned or can access to, and I never even thought about doing it with tutorials. It's so smart because like in Airtable you can do like thumbnails and you can put in URLs and like tag stuff and link them to each other. And I'm not represented by Airtable, no matter how hard I try every day to get their attention.
I'm looking at it. It does look like a very similar version of Notion.
Yeah.
That's
it's
the
like
problem,
a prettier version of Notion.
It is prettier, but the problem is you never know about like features and things. And sometimes it's like, man, there's one feature that I really like on this other thing. It's not worth moving to just for that one feature. But this does look like the interface is a lot prettier.
The interface is everything for me. I am so superficial. I will go with a prettier environment over function.
Yeah.
It not all the time, but if it's just enough, like yeah.
Because it does have like the integrations for me are something that are interesting because I was working with who was I working with? I think Jeremy and I were trying to figure out kind of a way to do something by connecting one thing through automate.io and doing a Zapier and doing all this crap. And it's like, okay, we've made it too convoluted. It's just too hard to integrate. But, I see this and it's like got integrations and I'm like, all right, huge productivity.
I need to move all the Camp Mograph stuff over to like something like this or to like Notion or something. That's a good idea.
The thing is, if you put everything on Notion...
right now, it's all just an Excel file.
Yeah, you can take Notion...
which is probably a terrible idea.
You could put the project stuff together, the Mograph stuff we're working on, in with the Camp Mograph stuff, and then you could have your own dashboard. And that's what I do. I have a dashboard. It shows me my personal things I have to do, my work things I have to do. I'm such a Notion nerd.
So I'm equal on Airtable nerd. Like I have like a Calendly link just for friends to go to schedule Airtable, like me teaching them how to use Airtable or how to do things with it. Because I'm like, if something happened to where Mograph was outlawed or After Effects use was outlawed, it's like I feel like I could have a thriving career like just organizing data for people, which is the most antithetical thing to like what I present as my thing that I do.
Yeah, but it's satisfying. There's something satisfying, and it might be like the control freak in me that likes
100%.
It. But it's just like I can throw everything in here, and then I'll do it, and I'll sit down and I'll get it organized, and I'll update the status of everything, and I'll figure out what I have to do, and I'll put everything in my calendar, and then I'll be like, I feel like I should be doing something right now. Am I supposed to be doing something? Well, no, look at Notion. You're not supposed to be doing anything right now. Maybe you could play some Halo for a change.
Right.
But secretly, it's a ultimate form of procrastination. Like I'm organizing all of my information. I'm preparing. It's really, I'm just putting off working as long as I can and hope and under the guise of making the work easier down the road.
Yeah, I've gotten it pretty down to where I don't have to spend a lot of time in it anymore. But yeah, when you are in the middle of a project and then you decide to geek out, it's like, is this really worth the time or not?
The hard part for me is like keeping everything updated. Like right now, our project is just kind of like trashed on who's doing what and stuff. And I need to go through, actually add thumbnails. But, then it's like, okay, I'm going to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours doing that when I should be jumping ahead on some more of the project. You know what I'm saying?
That's kind of one of those things where you could either do it while you go, but if you don't, there's something that the GTD method, which is where I think a lot of the GTD method still stands, even though I don't use it all these days. Some of it is a lot of overkill. You know, like I even brought some of it back into Notion, some of that GTD stuff.
What does that stand for?
Getting things done.
Guillermo del Toro is what you're trying to say. You use Guillermo del Toro's
getting things done. It's a method from what's his name, David Allen.
Yeah, David Allen. Yeah, no, I agree. At a certain point, it becomes an entire extra area of your life. The management of the areas of your life. If you like, that's how I am. Like where I got scared to open up my Things app because I knew that I had fallen behind on it.
Right.
And therefore, like it was a whole other set of work I needed to do to reorganize and catch up on my like my to-do list, my GTD, my Guillermo del Toro database. Yeah.
Which is copyright David Code 2001. The whole thing about getting things done method is you do something called a review, and it's got a little coffee cup on it. It's called a review. You're supposed to do it like every Friday or something, right? You sit down, you go through your list of everything, even the stuff that's like long term, and you just double check everything. What I kind of stripped out of the getting things done method was the micromanaging of the names of tasks, and I shouldn't have done this in Notion, but I did bring in like the suggestion that they have, which is doing an epic and a sprint, which an epic would be like a long-term project, and a sprint is a little thing you have to do for it, like send an email or whatever. Now, back in the GTD days, when I really used to get into OmniFocus and things, I'd put all of that down, like email is a thing you have to do, or drive is a thing you have to do, or print. It's like too micromanagey, right? Because you're never, you might, but if it's useful for you, you could sit down and say, okay, sort by email. Oh, I have to email these 10 people, but it usually doesn't work that way. So I even like hid all the sprints the other day because I'm like, because every time you make a new project, you have to sit there and say what it is. That's a waste of time. I'm never going to reference that node. Anyway, we've gotten way too geeky with the GTD, but if you go through Matt and you maybe say, okay, every Friday, I'm going to go through and look at these things. I think it's a good way to do it. You won't have to spend too much time working on it.
Yeah.
But these systems don't work unless you update them, right?
Right, that's for sure.
A contractor can't go in and say, oh, what's on my to-do list on my assignment board if it's not accurate. So at least a week. That's generally what I do is every week I go through and clean up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Organization, am I right?
I guess.
But hooray!
I've got a little sticky pad that I keep on my desktop that I write things on.
Oh, you're stressing me out.
Yeah.
No, actually, I will say, I have been using this thing I got on Kickstarter, the Ugmonk thing, the analog. It's like this cool little wood thing, and you have cards. It's very GTD. You have cards for. You have next cards, you have someday cards, and then you have today cards. And every day you just write on your list your today, like what the stuff is to get done today. And then you put it in the thing like that, and it sits on your desk looking at you in a really nice, aesthetically. Again, the aesthetics are everything. It's pleasing. But it's actually been really helpful during the pandemic when I like as I've been working. I have so many like distractions. I have 3 kids, and up until we just moved into this house, like I was working out of a living room of a townhome where my kids were also doing school and everything else. Ooh. Yeah. And so to have this one central little place that wasn't an app that I didn't have to open up my phone or my computer to look at, but I could literally physically look down at my desk and be reminded, like, if you're going to do one thing right now, you have time to do that thing. It's nice. And then what's cool is you get this stack of dead trees that you have all of your to-do lists that you've done. And on the back, you can do notes and stuff. Anyway, again, I'm not repped by Ugmonk, no matter how hard I try. But
a lot of people like to do that method, and they actually will write down if they didn't get stuff done the day before. They will rewrite their daily to-do list every day, because it gets to the point where, like, if if you have to rewrite something like 5 days in a row, there's something that you're not taking care of to finish.
If you have to rewrite it 5 days in a row, you just stop writing it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But a lot of it for me is like I just stop writing it. And I realize, that may not be a big deal because the world isn't ended. And I can just put that off.
The easiest thing to do is just to have an epic or anything like that. That is, maybe not an epic or maybe a status or something that you can write on it. Instead of saying, I need to do this tomorrow or I need to do it this week, you could say whenever. It's a long-term thing, so you can just put it in there and at least it's out of your brain. Other thing that I do, I don't like keeping like a general outboard brain inbox in Notion. To me, it's like not a good way to do it. I guess you could make your own Notion that is essentially an inbox, but I still use Todoist and just add everything to my inbox and then sort through it later. It's mainly for me about getting things out of my head so that it's not just looping in the back of my mind what I have to do. And then I'll go through that list and I'll start planning out my week. Like every Sunday, I kind of do. It's almost like that Friday check-in where you're going through, you're doing a review, you're checking all your things, and I'll go through on Sundays and I will literally block plan out my calendar for the week. Not everything's going to be a calendar thing, but you have some pretty big things like obviously meetings, things like I've got to work on this project. I probably need a good 3 or 4 hour block, block that in at least. I don't know. We randomly went off on productivity, but what else do you do? What else do you do for productivity? You have any other secret methods?
What else do I do? So I use the Things app, Culture Codes Things. That's just been my system for like over 10 years. Mixed in with for notes, IA Writer is my favorite kind of memo notes writing app because it's super clean.
Y'all got way too many things. I got nothing. I got Notion, and that's only because Dave set it up.
Well, I've got.
That's a good start for you, though.
What I do like is that I've got shortcuts. I like building shortcuts because I'm a nerd, and so I've got stuff to where like if I'm in a meeting and suddenly I realize, I need to write some of this down or I need to type some of this up, I've got a shortcut on my phone that I can hit meeting notes. And it'll pop up. I'm not going to show you. They all say happy birthday because like 80, all my calendars include my birthday in it. So it's like, funny. Which one are you wanting to, what meeting are you in? It pulls from my calendar, all my meetings. And it's like, what meeting are you in? And I click it and it auto generates like a document with titled accurately for the meeting with all like hashtags on it. And so I can just start jotting notes down without having to because I'm OCD like that. And then it's going to automatically name the document after the first line of the document.
Right.
So I have it go ahead and auto-generate the meeting name at the top with some hashtags so I can just start writing notes and it's already organized for me for later. Dumb stuff like that is why I have multiple different tasks and tools. It's also to help me compartmentalize stuff.
It's very good to be able to compartmentalize in that type of... Yeah. And the thing about this kind of organization, it's not for everybody, but I will say if you're going to manage any sort of a team or do anything like business related, trying to manage, you have to have something like this. You have to have a system. And it might not be this system, but you have to have a system because how are you going to make sure that moving forward, things are going to get done on time, that your contractors are working on certain things on certain days, and when those things are due so that you can review them and make sure they're good for your client, whatever it is, you have to have some sort of system for that. There's no way anybody should be expected to be able to keep that kind of information in their head. So
yeah. Well, one thing I love, talking about Airtable again, you were talking about working with teams, like I'll do VFX shot databases in Airtable, and you can share a view link, and I'll share that view link with clients or producers or whoever might want to. It's a way for them to check in with a status without having to annoy me or bug me. And so they can go in and see like what videos are done, what videos are uploaded, or what shots are done. And each shot gets its own GIF that, so you have like right there in the spreadsheet, you have a looping GIF of like the shot for quick and easy reference to, because for me, my brain doesn't work off shot numbers and names very well at all. And it'll have the Dropbox link to final renders. And like, what was really cool is on the short film I did like a year and a half ago, I crowdsourced some of my last minute VFX. Some of the artists are actually in the chat here. I think annoying you. You should block some of them. But I actually was able to sent out a call saying, hey, if anybody can help with these shots, and they'd reach out, and then I'd send them the Airtable link and say, just tell me what shots you want. I'll tag it. I'll claim it for you. And I send them an Airtable link that has the download for the plates. It has the upload link for final renders. It has instructions. It has a GIF. It has all this informational stuff. And so for me, it's almost like I hate having to communicate a crap load of information with my mouth, because people's eyes glaze over, and it's like, well, I need you to take all of this information. You need to have all of this information. So like putting it in a super organized, manageable like place where it's all right there, and I'm completely blameless that if you mess it up, it's because you're dumb and you don't, and you're not trying to get the information. I love stuff like Airtable or Notion or anything like that lets me organize that stuff to be able to communicate it or give it,
That's a really
delegate
good point, because it is really hard to communicate a bunch of information. Like, for example, doing this show. If you agree to be on this show, there's certain things you have to do. You have to be available for a certain date, right? You have to click on that date and make it happen. You have to have equipment to record. You have to have a microphone and a camera, of course. So that has to be listed. Hey, you need a camera and a microphone to do this. We're not just recording on Skype. This is going to be live on the internet. Make sure you have a camera. Make sure that you test the camera. You also have to record an audio only ISO of yourself when you do the show, because it's sent to me at the end. I edit the show in Logic, and
Dave has a really long email that he sends out to everyone
so
about
that's
it.
What happens. I send out this email because you have to know these things. You can't just show up to the show and be like, oh, I'm supposed to record.
I get
I
that.
could get on Skype with somebody and I could sit there and I could explain the whole thing to them, but like you said, their eyes glaze over. So then what do? You write it out and then you put it in a document and you send it to people and they don't read it.
But it's also similar to what Seth was talking about, where the presentation needs to be, like I see a wall of text and I'm just, okay, that's a bunch of text.
ADD.
Like, yeah, maybe, but it's like
ADD is that. Those are the key letters here. Like that's what motivates everything I'm talking about, is because I'm heavily medicated for ADHD, and I'm like, my whole thing is like, if I look at it and I feel like I would retain the information, like if it passes me, like I feel like anybody will look at the information, like anybody will get it. So it's like, if I can get it into a format that I would consume and I would not skip over or miss, then we should be pretty good.
Yeah.
That's what I like about Notion, because you can put the information that people will need in there, but they don't have to actually like necessarily have every piece of information. Like, here's an example. I think I probably put in that document how to make sure your levels are good or something to that extent, right?
Yeah.
Here's what's good about levels. Now, if you're an audio person, you already understand how to do that, right? So sometimes not all the information is necessary, but it's necessary for certain people. And I feel like that's why using something for management like Notion or Airtable or whatever is great. Like the Stop Being Afraid of Houdini course, there was so much information that had to be relayed, right? Like who is working on what, who's recording what chapter is this, what time codes are being inserted for new 18.5 content, who's working. So all of that goes into the system, and what's great is the information is there for the people who need it. And you can also, I'm sure Airtable does this, you can go in and you can look at not only like where someone added you, like at Dave, hey, I have a question about something. But also you can do like this passive thing where you're following something. It's like following a Facebook thread where people will do something and they'll be talking to each other, but you get a follow thing that says, hey, these people on your project did this, this, and this, and it's a passive notification for you because you can look at it and you can say, okay, things are going accordingly. That issue is taken care of. I don't need to talk to them about it. I don't need to email them. I don't need to Skype them and say, hey, how's this going? Because I know how it's going. You know, it's just a passive way to monitor what you're doing. So, anywho. Let's talk about your career. Seth.
I feel like I've guided this into being the most boring episode of Mograph in the history of the podcast.
Trust me.
There was no clarification there.
It was that's all right.
Yeah. It wasn't. No, it's not, Seth. It's not boring at all. It was. That's all right.
No, it's totally...
it's not. This is not a boring episode. This is not a boring episode.
I can tell.
I will tell you exactly which ones were the boring episodes. This
Do
one
it
is not
now, live. Let's hear it.
Juicy gossip.
No.
Now this got interesting.
I don't want to call them out.
That's very relevant to a lot of motion graphic designers. I think I bet you there's 99% of people listening to this are relating to some of the things that we're talking about. So
I don't know about 99% of it. Like honestly, like when it comes to, I have never been good at project management, like software stuff, you know, like I find just a simple list works great for me, you know, because it's too much. Like there's too many, like, especially in Notion, we've got 5 different ways of doing things, you know, and it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's
all the same
confusing.
thing. It's just how you want to receive that information.
To Matt's point, I will say, I love things. OmniFocus is great. Like personal task management software, there's tons of great options out there. Team task management software, project management software, there is nothing good. Absolutely nothing solid and reliable
I think
out there.
Part of that is that you have to build your own. I really, really think there's nothing that's going to fit everybody.
Everyone does project management different. The way, like, Dave's in love with Notion, and I kind of get it, you know. Like, for a few things, it's very convenient, but for the most part, it's like there's so much there that I'm just like, I can't.
There's no one's been able to make the Slack version of it where you're like, I like it here. I'll actually, you know, I'll come here and it feels light and casual, and my work feels not boring in this environment. And no one's done that for project management. It's always just felt like one more thing emails you 80 times and that you have to go log and check in with.
And the problem is when you find something that works and you try and send it to somebody else and they're like, man, I've already got project management software. I don't want to get...
And you're like, no, you don't. This is the one. Yeah.
This is the one. No, now we're going to change over to this one. No, so, I mean, we're trying to stick with one thing, but when you're managing a project with 100 videos and 6 contractors and a million different due dates, there's no way you could just write it down and then not all of a sudden realize at the last second that something's not right or you missed a deadline or all of a sudden you have like 5 days of work to do in an hour. Like, you have to have some way to write it down, or else how are you going to get major projects done? And if you can't get major projects done, how are you going to evolve your company? Because it's great if you're a contractor, a single contractor working, but how are you ever going to make more than like your year's salary unless you hire somebody, unless you expand in some way, shape, or form? And you cannot do that without having a team, whether you're hiring somebody as an employee full-time or you're hiring contractors. You've got to manage that team. There is no way to build your business. It's just not. It's not that you can't make money. It's not that you can't make a good living, but you're never going to make more than your year's salary if you don't start managing people, delegating tasks, organizing things, you know, and of course going for those big projects that feel impossible and making them happen. Yeah. So that's why I feel like management is important. You know, if you don't do it, that's fine. That's your decision, but it definitely will make a difference moving forward with what you plan on doing if you're running a business that's going to go anywhere more than just, hey, This is me as a sole proprietorship. So
just do it, Matt. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know.
But Matt's been doing it.
Here's the thing. Like, I like a simple Excel sheet. You know, like, for example, some clients that we're working with right now, you know, they have just an Excel sheet with like dates due, projects, you know, different videos and stuff, and it's like, okay, I can follow that really easily.
Yeah.
You know, my entire budget is built out in one Excel sheet. You know, like, but then I've got another client who uses Basecamp, and that's confusing AF.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
I hate Basecamp. I've always hated Basecamp.
Me too.
It's just so confusing and it's not intuitive.
See, that's an example of people who do project management and say, this is how we feel project management should be done and our way should work for you. Whereas with Notion, you're building it to work the way that you decide you want it to work. And I feel like that's why a lot of people are gravitating toward Notion, Airtable, and that kind of like dynamically changing fields and that whole database driven thing. John Haley in the chat. Miss you, John Haley. We were talking on Halo last night that we are missing the presence of John Haley in our Xbox live chats.
June 11th, we're going to have a big Halo party to celebrate the end of our big project. It's going to be awesome. Anyone who's interested, let us know.
Yeah. All right, Seth, let's talk about you and motion graphics and VFX and all the things. I think we're doing pretty well for the short show. We've already gone an hour.
Sure.
Yeah,
are we already at an hour?
An hour already.
All right.
That's good.
Action-packed hour of task management.
Okay, maybe
so,
this is
what you want to know? Let's heat things up.
Let's do this. Let's start from the beginning because we haven't met in person. So
we haven't
really?
met in person. No.
I don't think we have.
I don't
think we have. Unless we just
Who are you people? No.
How did we meet then? No, the thing is that when we meet people in real life, usually we have a chance to sit down and learn about where they came from and where they went to school and all the things, and we don't get to do that, especially nowadays. So we know where you're from in general, and that you're from Red Giant, and we've hung out on Skype and 3D motion show, that kind of thing. But we really haven't had a chance to sit down, have a beer, so to speak, and talk about where you started and where you went to school or didn't go to school.
Yeah, it's 1 p.m. Let's drink. Let's crack it open.
There you go.
School-wise, I went to a year at Baylor University for telecommunications. I'm from Nashville, here in Nashville, Tennessee. Went to Waco, went to Baylor for a year, came back. I started getting a lot of work in the music industry back here, doing video, doing like electronic press kit videos and promos for like up and coming artists. I was cheap labor for a record label to hire and send on tour with bands to or into the studio to shoot, B-roll, and then eventually also cut EPKs and stuff. And I liked, and I was getting so much work. I came back to Nashville. There's a film school here in town called Watkins Film School that I went to for a little while. But the majority of my education came from just working and doing the work. Ever since I was in middle school, I've always felt very natural with a camera, and eventually all through high school it was with an SVHS deck-to-deck linear editing system that was donated to the church that my dad was the worship pastor at, and nobody at this church knew how to operate this thing, so I taught myself, and this closet that it was in became my like makeshift office, and my friends and I would run around on the weekends and shoot stuff and edit on these VHS tapes. And I cut my teeth constantly filming and editing stuff that would be shown either on our high school TV Pros TV broadcasting program, the cable access channel that we had to actually create content for. I would be shooting, editing content for that and or for our youth group, like dumb videos we'd make and show our youth group. And the key to both those things was that they both had an audience built in. And so it wasn't just me making dumb stuff and thinking that I'm great. It was me making dumb stuff, showing it to a room full of people and learning that I'm not great. And, and constantly like getting to experiment and try and see what works, what audiences respond to, what they don't. And
not accidentally hitting assemble edit instead of insert edit, because then code's over.
Yeah.
So
many times.
Good old
and this
punching
thing,
a hole in the tape.
this specific deck, it's something about if the time code would start flashing, like it would go to 0 all of a sudden and start flashing like it would as an error message. And if you had to karate chop the left jog wheel like just the right way, and it would go back to normal. Otherwise, within 5 seconds, it would start taping over your raw footage tape.
Dang.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so this thing was a dangerous, risky game that was a lot of fun.
Even if you took the tab out, would it still?
No, probably not. But
record override.
Probably not. You're right. I should have done that.
Hey, that's why. That's why your A or your main one, your source, is not a record deck. It's just a play deck.
This one was a record deck too. It was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But man, I loved learning on that thing because it taught me like editing with permanence and like, and also taught me how to still be experimental in that medium, like still how to like tricks to get it. It was a really great way to learn editing and storytelling through that medium.
Do you have an MX50 or MX12 in between those two bad boys?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And I don't.
Those little Panasonic, you could do some wipes and stuff. That was the
the little black.
Yeah, you have like
I think I know what you're talking about.
Thing, and it had like a switcher handle. I mean, I think it could be used as a switcher if you wanted. But...
Yes, I hated that thing. It didn't have the haptic feedback that like that big old nasty deck to deck one had, where like I'm pushing buttons and getting clicks and beeps and hearing my tape get taped over. Like, I liked having that immediate feedback. The smoother the experience got, the less fun it was to edit. There was a Casablanca in there at one point. I know that. And that thing was
Casablanca.
Yeah, that thing was.
That brings me back.
What is that again? I don't remember.
Casablanca was one of the first ones that was like advertised as you can do this from home. You know, like I remember going to the National Junior Journalism Convention in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and there was someone in a Casablanca, and they were trying to argue about why it's so much better than Avid.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yes. It was just a little black box you put on the TV, and it came with a jog with like, it came with a ball, like the mouse roller ball, and like it was like, oh, this is neat. I'm doing the Casablanca. But very quickly, my senior year, our high school got a MacBook or got a PowerBook. With Final Cut, and that's when I really dived into nonlinear editing for real, and I used Final Cut all the way up until I used Final Cut up until Final Cut 10, and then I moved over to Premiere. And because I'm not an editor, because I'm not a pro editor, I've never used Avid, like because I'm a director and writer director, but mostly, and so. I've just been in Premiere ever since. I do wonder, like, would I still be in Final Cut if Final Cut 10 had not happened? Like,
I think a lot of us would be.
Yeah.
I think, and it's funny because like during that time when they switched over to Final Cut X, I was actually at the announcement.
All of us, yeah.
I was at the announcement, and it was awesome. The energy there was great. You got people in the crowd screaming, "I want it now! Give it to me!" And it's like we were all so excited, and then it gets shipped with like. You can't even import XMLs or open your previous files, and it's like it was such a letdown. And then there's this time in between when it got released and when everyone started moving over to Premiere, where it's like, oh, you're gonna go work at a studio. Oh, are they using Final Cut X? And it's like, oh, I don't know Final Cut X. I don't want to work in Final Cut X. I know Final Cut Pro. Give me Final Cut Pro, and I'm there.
I mean, we called it iMovie Pro.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
and I understood it completely from Apple's standpoint when it came out, and so much that I was like, kind of rooting for it, even though I was actively staying in Final Cut 7 or whatever it was, Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
But I was rooting for it to become like for Apple to once again win, like to once again teach us that we don't need whatever port they had just stopped giving us, and we don't need, and
you don't need time code. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it did. But what really got me was that Conan sketch, that Conan bit they did on, I don't forget what Conan, where Conan was at the time, if he was still a Late Show. Yeah. But their team did like this video that was like, with the new Final Cut 10, it's great. We're using it to edit this right now, and then it cut like too soon forward. And it was just like poorly cut video on how the Conan team is now using the Final Cut 10. You should look it up. It's really funny.
That is.
So after high school, college here and there, and then I eventually got a job at a company here in town that organized and put on conferences and events, and including these like summer camps for youth and kids. And my job was creating content material that played at these events. So for all the conferences and stuff, it was these openers and bumpers. And that's where I got to use someone else's money to learn After Effects.
Okay.
It was around that time. This is maybe like 2008, 2009. So J.J. Abrams' issue of Wired had come out where he gave a call out to Andrew Kramer in Video Copilot. And I was like, I should check out Video Copilot. And because of it, Kramer, within a year, so started learning After Effects. Exactly a year later, Aaron Rabinowitz at Red Giant had seen some of the stuff I've been posting on Vimeo and asked if I wanted to make a short film with Red Giant, or a tutorial for Red Giant, which then became, we also then went on to do a short film. He wanted to make a what he called, in his words, and he'll throw up in his mouth, not even knowing I'm saying it, but somewhere in the world he'll throw up in his mouth when I say this, a viral short film. And
this is going to go viral.
But to his credit, this was a time, this is 2010, 2011. This is during a time when you could make a short film and put it on YouTube, and it had a very strong chance of actually going viral. And that filmmaker could then be directing a Thor movie 6 months later.
Right. But that's when clients started coming to everybody saying, we want to make a viral video. Yeah. Well, but to Arn's credit, what was smart about his take was we should make a short film, and it should just be an absolutely spectacular short film.
Right.
And we shouldn't hype our products with it at all. It should just be a great standalone short film that links to a behind the scenes, and our behind the scenes should just hype the living hell out of all of our products.
Right.
Yeah.
And we should use all of the Red Giant's products to make this. And through our conversations, we both agreed that like this should also thematically be about the main product too, which in that case it was a film called Plot Device, and it was about Magic Bullet Sweep. And the concept itself was inherently about color grading, color correction, because it was about a kid who gets a button, and every time he presses the button, the color grade changes, and he's in a different genre of film, like surrounded by zombies, or he's got people shooting at him. And so the concept was inherently based on the same theme that the product itself was about and based on. So it all felt organic and cohesive. The behind the scenes, like hyping stuff, didn't feel foreign to the actual film itself. It felt, and it also, we, made the behind the scenes as interesting and as like educational as much as it was, marketing. And so that short came out. And again, Aaron had found me because I was doing these videos at my job and experimenting and learning After Effects, and also at the same time making these narrative, like comedy sketches and narrative mini-series for the summer camps that my employer put on. And so you'd go to camp and you'd watch these 5-episode, 5 minutes, each episode's like 5 minutes, like 5-episode, like little mini arc series with recurring characters. And if they were any good, I'd put them on Vimeo and say they were a web series. If they were bad, they'd play at these camps and no one would ever see them again. And Aaron had found those and seen those, and that's what made him, start a conversation with me about doing a short film. So Plot Device then, that came out in 2011. It blew up, and within 24 hours, I had voicemails and emails from executives and agents and managers, people. I knew nobody in LA at the time. I was still based here in Nashville. And suddenly I had every agency, emailing me, asking when I'm going to fly out and meet. And so out of that experience, I got an agent. I got a whole host of contacts that I'd never had before. And then I got a job offer from Red Giant to come on full time and make short films and content and tutorials for them. And I've been with them ever since. We're now Maxon, and so now I'm like I said before, actively learning Cinema 4D as well as I possibly can to start influencing that into tutorials and marketing videos that I'm making. But
sure.
In between Plot Device and now, like, there's just been a whole lot of stuff of me making short films with Red Giant, directing commercials on the side, starting a company called Plot Devices where we make notebooks and tools for writing and story development.
Cool.
So there's a lot of hats that I wear. I think I've represented all of the hats.
I like that on your site. You
Hanks
say that, yeah.
of Steven Spielberg.
The Tom Hanks of Steven Spielberg.
That's quoting my buddy Joey Ellis, who is an illustrator and designer who designed. We pitched a kids' TV show a while back. Some of it's in this reel that you're seeing with the puppets and stuff.
Yeah.
He said that one time about me, and I was like, I want that on my tombstone. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
This one you have here with Olivia Munn, that was the dog app, right? It's a dog something app.
Yeah, it was an app called WAG. That was a commercial. First thing I ever directed with the good people at Sandwich Video, or they're now called just Sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
My life is like a Forrest Gump story of me just bumbling my way into working with various heroes. And Adam Lissagore at Sandwich was one of them, where he had seen my Red Giant work and didn't know that was unaware that I had been actively ripping him off and stealing his style of explainer video for several years at that point. And we became friends, and then that was the first thing he sent me a text and said, "Have you ever worked with dogs before?" And I said, "I've been waiting so long for you to ask me that question."
You like dogs?
You like dogs?
And yeah. And so I did that commercial with them, and I've done a couple of other things with them since.
That's cool. That's cool.
So that's me.
I think Dorpy would like that dog app.
Yeah.
Dorpy will be on later.
Good. I should hope so.
I wanted to talk about the Ghostbusters thing, because you were just on a 3D motion show. When was that? Last week before last.
Yeah.
And you were showing. You've done 2 Ghostbusters things. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 unofficial, completely unlicensed Ghostbusters things.
Right. Yes. But the new one, I was looking for it this morning. I didn't know what it was on. I didn't know if it was it's a Red Giant thing, right?
I think it's on Maxon's. It's because it was 3D motion show. So you can just search Seth Worley 3D motion show, and it should be the top one that comes up.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna look this up, and I didn't know if you had like a separate. I thought you had well, you do have the video separate that you did.
We have you talking about the first Ghostbusters one?
You had the first one, and then you did something on the
3D motion show.
Yeah, but it was about like the streams and all of that, like creating like similar streams. That was okay. I didn't know if you had another video or okay, so that's okay.
No, it was those 2. So the first one was there's a period of time at Red Giant when we were taking a break from making all-out short films. We were taking a break from epics and trying to do a few just sprints. That's not really a good analogy because I heard you explain what sprints and epics are. But
that makes sense.
We created a thing called Film Team Experiments, which were meant just to be these experimental little mini like sketch little shorts that usually it was built on one effect shot or a couple, but it was mainly one kind of effect and one joke that kind of ended it. They were like 30 seconds to a minute long, and then a little behind the scenes that was more of a walkthrough or a breakdown connected to it. And then we did one kind of elaborate one of those called Busted. Well, so like there's a bunch of, they're all like usually recreating effects from movies. So we had Hatchback to the Future, and they're all punny, like super punny. Blood, Sweat, and Pterosaurs. But Busted was this one where we kind of wanted to do, so the female Ghostbusters remake reboot had not come out yet, and we didn't know, there was not even a trailer for it yet. And so it was kind of out of our guesstimating of like, what kind of directions could you go with a reboot of Ghostbusters? Like, do we want to see like the Conjuring version of Ghostbusters? Do we want to see the cartoonish ghosts? Mm-hmm. And then it really became like, you know what do we want to try and recreate ourselves? And I really wanted to figure out how to do the cartoonish ghost look without being able to build a puppet. And through a product that our good friend, the late Sean Mullen, made called, was the Monster Pack or Zombie Pack? He made this great pack that was just eyes and ears and scars and components that you could comp onto people's faces and body in post to make zombies or monsters. So we used that combined with some like really warped puppet tool stuff to create the ghosts. Mm-hmm. And then for the proton streams, we used Trapcode DAO and Trapcode Particular. And in that film team experiment, the fun part was we wanted to kind of Iron Man. We kind of wanted to like do kind of an Iron Man like take on the tech itself. Like what would the like Ghostbusters to go pack be, like the pack they keep in their trunk, right? Kind of stuff. And so the trap is like the ghost trap is a puck in that he throws onto surfaces and it sticks and the aperture opens and sucks the ghost in. And his like proton pack is a little mini gun with it was a lot of fun to put that one together and just it's a Ghostbuster on his day off at a gym. Yeah. And has to bust some ghosts that are really just trying to get their reps in. There's really no reason he needs to bust them.
Right?
They're skipping leg day though because they don't have legs.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. And so this time around for the 3D Motion Show, I had been thinking for a while about how there was this big Trapcode Particular update that just happened. That introduced flocking simulation. And I kept and also since that busted film team experiment, we've also introduced it in particular multiple emitter systems. And whereas before it was like I needed one instance of DAO or Particular for the main stream, then I needed a couple instances for the blue lightning that's around the stream as well. I need to make these, and I need an instance for the sparks that come off them. And then I need a way to have them all talk to each other in case I modify the stream or the turbulence field. They need to all, still talk to each other and stay in sync. And now with the way Particular's built, you can build it all in one system and it's a lot easier. And I was like, and I thought, and I've been thinking about how you could use flocking to create a target and literally just have you emit particles and have them all go in a stream toward that target and even move that target around a scene and have the physics act the way they're supposed to. So that became kind of what experimenting with that led to my 3D Motion Show presentation a couple weeks ago where I showed how to do that. And it also included using a Universe plugin that called Universe Ecto, which was created as a result of that first film team experiment.
That's exactly what I was about to ask you, because you didn't have that plugin the first time.
No, so Harry, Frank, and I, who had been talking about some various plugins that we could make for Universe, Red Giant, but Harry was doing the primary engineering side. But I, at the same time, had also been experimenting with our development tools that create Universe plugins. And I had built two on my own. One I called Slip and Jimmy because it was created to recreate the Better Call Saul opening titles.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then the other one I was calling Ecto, and it was to create that like ghosty, smoky glow around anything with an alpha channel. And Harry took both those ideas in my code and threw out my code and started from scratch and made a much more efficient version of those tools. And the Better Call Saul one became called AV Club, and it simulates the look of running an alpha, an image or titles through an old crappy switcher.
And you were also taking you were going in and doing like purposely bad green screening in order to take the artifacts and put them on top of what you were working on, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's my favorite kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, I
like
love that.
like WandaVision was my jam because it was the amount of attention to detail they got into in those first several episodes of recreating the film texture of those early Dick Van Dyke shows and Bewitched. And like I love breaking down something imperfect and trying to like recreate all the imperfections in some way. One I did recently was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, breaking down the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids like shrink ray, and even like I love just looking at like it's so fun to break those down like shot by shot and see like how much they're getting away with, like in all these early VFX shots, and it's like why do we try so hard? There's so much we can get away with even now still.
Works
so yeah, it's really fun. I love creating really bad keys and really bad if you really want to see the best version of that, I don't know if it's online. It might be on my site. But at Red Giant, we used to do these annual sales every year at the end of the year, and we started doing. One year, we decided we're going to make the world's worst promo for it. We're going to make it look like a used car lot, like commercial, and we're going to advertise every product badly, like almost like that.
Go.
But, yes, and so it was like, got pesky green screens, get rid of them with Primat, and it's like, and it was, it's like we literally, God bless all the leadership at Red Giant because they let us market all the products by using them horribly and making them look terrible. And so that's where I've gotten to do it the most is recreate. But even look at the short that got me, my job at Red Giant. Like Plot Device itself was recreating those old, like the aesthetics of all those each genre and all the nuances and flaws. That's the stuff that I get really geeky about.
Yeah, it's really hard to make something look convincingly old. If you watch For All Mankind,
watch what?
For All Mankind on Apple, it's supposed to be an alternate timeline. So it's in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and what have you. And when they do these recreations of like historical events and the characters are in it, you can still kind of tell that it was like shot on 4K and then tried to make it look like it was VHS or something.
But you look at Forrest Gump, which at the time you're like, how is he shaking JFK's hand? This is black magic.
Yeah.
Remember what a big deal that was when it came? I remember my parents talking about how did they do that? It's the first time people saw something like that.
When I went to Disney World for my honeymoon, and I rode the Tower of Terror, and they use video from the what's his name, who originally did Twilight Zone. Yeah, Rod Serling. So like they got someone who did his voice really well, and then took clips. And so as soon as I got home, and this is so ridiculous, as soon as I got back to my hotel, I went on YouTube to try and find the exact same one that they had ripped it from, in order to send it out and be like, oh, this is the one that and this is how they edited it, to make it look like him.
It's so cool. I love it. And this is the thing like about recreating anything like old, you see it all the time. If you try to recreate it from memory, it becomes this really broad, corny, it doesn't work. It's like you end up with a bunch of ad blend mode, massive glows, like everything's over the top. I'm using this generically. I'm not actually referencing anything specific, but like when you look at the individual little details and you try to break it down on a granular level, that's when you create something. When you create something that feels truly authentic, that's when you suddenly like open it up to become its own thing, and it has like its own value as a piece of nostalgia or as a piece of like throwback, but by the fact that it's actually recreating that thing,
Totally. Yeah. It's I agree with you. I don't have anything to expound on that, but yes, you're totally right. I mean, breaking it down into its individual things is, how you get things to look much more accurate.
Yeah.
So
that's why I follow Todd Vaziri on Twitter, only for that reason. Is just
who's Todd Vaziri? I don't know.
Todd Vaziri. Oh man, Todd Vaziri is a compositor at Industrial Light and Magic, who has an utterly fantastic Twitter account. He is a very kind and thoughtful individual as well, and but he well, some of us have joked like, I don't know how he has time to parent his children or be a husband to his wife, because it's like he seems to be constantly like capturing old like creating GIFs of VFX shots or old behind the scenes like VFX shots, but he'll constantly just do a deep dive into some VFX shot from an old, movie from the 80s or whatever, or he'll break down shots he's done on movies where like the NDA is kind of expired or whatever.
Right.
Who are we talking about? I stepped away.
Todd Vaziri.
Okay.
He's a great follow on Twitter for this kind of stuff.
I have to add it to my Twitter. Rad.
So what's next? Is it going to be?
Yeah. What's next?
Are you doing things now separate from Red Giant? Is it all Red Giant stuff now? Like, how is all that related?
And I'm curious how much say do you have that goes into the next plugins and such, like, like.
Well, our team has always been really, really generous and curious, and what's the right word here, where they welcome feedback and are consistently asking and we're constantly testing this stuff for them. And I can't take credit for anything cool that you see in a plugin. I can take credit for either questioning it or playing with it for the first time and saying this is perfect, don't change it, or it needs maybe this or maybe that. Constantly speaking into and giving feedback. But really my job is to like understand the products and like, I guess, my job is to like give feedback while the product's in development, make sure that and as much as I possibly can, and then to understand the product and what its core use is and its core applications are, and also see its potentials and possibilities, and then try to represent that in content as much as I can, whether that be tutorials or short films or ads or promos. Daniel Hashimoto and I we're now part of the training team at Maxon. Really spectacular training team full of some really, really, really talented and skilled people that intimidate me with how much they know. And that includes Hashi too. If you haven't seen any of his tutorials and haven't had him on the show, you should 100% have him.
He just did a really fantastic one.
We've
on the
gone back
drones
and forth about being on the show like 10 times. I got.
Really?
I got to hit him up again and see.
Just bug him. He's busy, but bug him. He got to be on the show. He's so good.
Yeah.
How much of my work is like separate from Red Giant? What's great about this job is they've always seen the value in my career, like thriving in any way outside of the company. The more work I do, the more experience I have to be able to speak into the plugins and to be able to, as long as I'm not going and working for competitors or anything like that. So I'm still actively directing commercials on the side, running my company Plot Devices, and developing. I mean, amidst all of this is like developing and pitching feature projects and TV projects, and none of which have been able to get off the ground yet, but doesn't stop me from trying.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't.
You'll have to tell Hashi to hit me up again. And you know who else I really, really, and he's super busy, I really want to talk to, is Stu Mashowitz.
You got to get Stu on. Stu's like, yeah.
We've been talking about it. He's just telling me he's just so slammed. It's just impossible right now. And
he's big chief king creative at Maxon now, and working on some very, very cool things. But you should keep pestering him because he's a great guest on stuff.
Yeah, I would love to pick
Stu's great. Everything. Working one of the greatest benefits of this job has literally been like just drinking beer at our annual meetings with Stu and asking him questions about his ILM days. And early on, he was like, he'd start to tell a story and then he'd stop himself. Then he'd go, "Oh, wait, you like this inside baseball stuff. Okay." So, and then he just proceeded to tell me about the tunnel they built to blow up the helicopter in Mission Impossible 1 and how he had to hand animate the rope that's connecting the helicopter to the train because they didn't have that simulation back then. And so he's hand animating it. And I'm like, keep telling me about the rope you're hand animating in Mission Impossible. Yeah, Stu's great. You gotta have him on.
It's just like, I love when you talk like that to me.
Yeah, exactly. I love when you talk twisted to me.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yeah. So, when y'all merged, when was that? Last December, January, February?
No, it's been a couple years.
About a year ago. It was a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like Paul was saying, because of the merger happening right when Corona happened, there's some people who have just never even met in person in the company.
Oh, 100%.
And so that's such a weird position to be in, where you're doing this merger in a time where everybody's like not in the office anymore and literally leaving and going to work from home as this is happening. So what have y'all been doing to bring the two companies together and actually, not just two companies now, but there's other things going on too at Maxon.
Yeah.
How have you been able to just get to know each other, to just like build that working relationship when, I'm sure everybody's got to do a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams meeting?
Well, fortunately, many of us were already part of a distributed workforce, either at Maxon or at Red Giant. And so it wasn't new to be working with people living in, across the world or across, the country.
So Red Giant was probably a little more distributed than Maxon was.
I can't actually speak to how distributed Maxon was. I don't really know it. I mean, I feel like, they're based in Germany, but many of the people that I know were based in LA.
Right. But they went into a building every day before.
Yes. I know the LA folks definitely went into a building every day. Yeah. Red Giant, based in Portland, a large portion of the company, did go into work in an office. There's also, a Canada unit of people, and then there's people like Arn Rabinowitz, who isn't there anymore, but was and based in New York, and me in Nashville. So a lot of us were used to that and understood that, but at the same time, just like any company during the pandemic, leadership has had to be very active about fostering that that work culture, and even if it's distributed and remote. We did our all company meeting as like a entirely virtual thing this past, I think last month we did that. And I'd say it went fairly well. Obviously we'd all prefer to be meeting in person at some point, but you got to be safe and respect the fact that it's a national pandemic. And,
hopefully
it's been weird, but I also will say my work is very siloed, so I can't speak to the overall culture of the company. Like I'm kind of off over in the corner making my stuff and trying to be as useful as I can. I'm not really in the engineering meetings, engineering scrums every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've along the lines of, doing your thing and making videos and things. I was thinking about this, and Matt and I talk about this all the time, which is like, if we didn't have to make money, we didn't have to make money every day, and that wasn't an issue, what would we do? Because that's what we should aim for, right? Like eventually, like that's what we should aim for. And we talk all the time about how it would just be cool to be able to make cool videos and put them on our channel, and then maybe also do a tutorial on how to make it. That's how y'all are doing it. That's how like Ren and Corridor Digital and like Rocket Jump, all those people, they like make these crazy videos, and it's like, how did you make that? Those are the ones that have like the top subscribers, right? Like we don't have a lot of subscribers who subscribe just so they can catch the 2.5 hour video every week or whatever. Like those kind of channels are just like they just blow up because it's entertainment. It's edutainment, I guess. But that just feels like so much fun. That feels like it would be so cool to be able to get a bunch of gear, go out with your friends, shoot some crazy thing, go try and VFX it up, make it look good. It sounds like it's a really fun job to have. It seems like that's kind of what you're doing. You're a little more remote, of course, but it seems like that's what you're able to do, and that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good God. Like, what kind of psychopath would sit here and say, it's not really that great?
Yeah.
Like,
It's pretty good, I guess.
I want to work in
Pretty good, I guess.
spreadsheets
I
all
mean-
day.
Yeah. God, if
Yeah.
I could just be making more spreadsheets. Oh, then I'd be happy. Although,
Some
I
people
mean, I
like
wouldn't be
that.
unhappy.
I'm
But,
gonna say.
Some people really like their spreadsheets.
well, it's funny. Like, I get to do plenty of spreadsheets at my job. Like,
Right.
Hashi and I were talking this past week about, like, what can we... Matt's done. He's sick of the spreadsheets. He's done. He's not hearing any more of them.
I'm surprised this is the first time he's gotten up to use the restroom.
I know, me too. Of all times. I had this elaborate Airtable that I made of upcoming films this year and key VFX shots from their trailers that we could do tutorials on. And it's like such a fun spreadsheet to scroll through to see all the GIFs animating of all these different shots and such. I just saw in the chat, Brian Beam. It's fun until Seth asks you to do Roto. Brian was one of the ones who saved me in the 11th hour on that last short.
That's funny.
But yes, it's a very fun job. I'm very, very lucky.
So,
And I'll be fired tomorrow now that I've said all of these things.
right. Now that Matt's gone, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to function.
Me
but
either.
We'll wait for him to come back to do the drop, but we could. Oh, here he is. We could get started with Mograph recommends, and we could talk about some of your favorites because I feel like you especially are.
Oh man, I'm excited to hear
some
this.
influences here.
I worry my list is going to be standard white guy fare, like standard like.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Favorite TV show, Breaking Bad or The Wire,
or The
right?
Wire. And favorite music, Coldplay and
Right.
Oh God.
and
Or Nickelback.
Nickelback.
Or Imagine Dragons.
Dave Matthews Band.
Oh,
Yeah.
there
Oh,
you
yeah.
go. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Is this all true? Yes, this is all true.
Yes.
Except the Dave Matthews Band doesn't rock. All right, let's start with your favorite movie, and it can be of all time or recent on any of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all time is easiest. It's kind of a boring answer because everybody's got it. I think everybody my age has it. It's Jurassic Park.
I was gonna say it's Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Because I joke I went into that theater a boy and came out a man. It was just like
It's true. It was very scary.
Mm-hmm.
it was. I didn't know. I had somehow evaded most of the marketing for it. I knew there were dinosaurs in it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a guy in it wore a cowboy hat, and that's it.
Yeah.
And my dad took me to see it, and when I walked out of there, it was like everything about the movie blew my mind. Like every single thing. And I figured out a plan immediately of how I could see it as many times as possible. And I took every family member I had one at a time to go see it.
Oh.
And
you just
so
sit
like
there and stare at them and look for their reaction.
dude, that's the thing. I like the 13th time with like my uncle, Rick or whoever, like I would turn my second cousin, like I realized I was looking at them more than I was looking at the movie. And I was kind of taking credit for their entertainment experience. Like, aren't you grateful that I provided this for you?
Yeah.
Like,
Do you like what I made?
and that feeling, that was the addictive feeling for me. That feeling of taking somebody somewhere, like showing them something really, really cool that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. That's the thing that I've been chasing ever since. Also on that list of movies, like Back to the Future, obviously, was hugely influential for me. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Is another major one. That one scarred me as a kid.
I rewatched that one the other day,
Holds
just
up.
recently. So good.
Yeah,
Still
because back then it
so
was like,
good.
how do they combine the characters that are cartoons with the people? I don't get it.
And that's the thing. And same thing with Forrest Gump. Like Robert Zemeckis.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about Zemeckis is that he understood the potential of the technology and would exploit it and would shape story around that to exploit it, knowing that it would it could provide something that people have never seen before, but in a way that had everything to do with the story and everything to do with character and emotion. And like, he wasn't showing off. He was literally just like, how can this be literally the best iteration of the story possible? And it was almost like experimental and playful in the way that he just went there with visual effects and like really took major risks in those ways. Yeah. And then Mary Poppins was huge for me as a kid. And I've since realized like the amount of technical achievement that is accomplished in that movie as well is insane. I'm also a huge Dick Van Dyke fan. So
same. Absolutely.
Yeah, Mary Poppins speaks right into that.
I loved the Dick Van Dyke Show growing up. Like it was so weird because I was so young, you know, yet I was watching the Dick Van Dyke Show on Nick at Night, you know, and it was absolutely my favorite show.
Me too. Everything about it, like his whole brand is just like, was totally my thing. It was this like really zany, really, really smart, you know, I later, you know, now can attribute a lot of it to Carl Reiner. But I just adore that show. As a kid, I thought he is the funniest person, and that's exactly who I want to be when I grow up. So if you can combine like Dick Van Dyke and Jeff Goldblum into like a person, it's like that's maybe the aspiration that like constantly reaching toward.
It's a jolly holiday with Mary.
Jeff, are you here with us today? Good God. That would be incredible, actually, Jeff Goldblum in that role as Bert. Lately, movies that I like really been into. I loved Minari. I loved The Kid Detective. The Kid Detective was so good.
That one.
Okay.
I don't know either of those.
Adam Brody stars as he's a guy who was like, as a kid, was like an Encyclopedia Brown of his town.
This
like
is a
this,
movie
like
or a
show. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
He was as a kid, he was this like really successful kid detective that solved like mysteries and stuff and like solved town mysteries. But then one of his best friends was kidnapped, went missing, and he felt it was his responsibility as a kid to solve that crime and never did. And so it's about Adam Brody as an adult, still going into his detective, like still trying to be a detective, clearly like is like, it tells this film noir detective story, but it's got this great twist of it being like how he wants it plays with the Encyclopedia Brown, like, kind of tropes and like genre of stuff. And it's actually really funny and surprisingly touching. And I highly recommend it. Also, both Paddington movies are masterpieces.
So good. Absolutely incredible. I went into it expecting nothing and was just blown away.
I same here, and I can't get people to watch them fast enough. It's like that, and like if you were to ask me if you could only make one kind of movie the rest of your life, it'd be like Paddington. That's exactly the kind of thing that I would make. Something that is unbelievably smart and funny and inventive and visually.
And the second one is just as good as the first one.
The second one's a masterpiece. Yeah. Like Hugh Grant deserves 80 Academy Awards for his performance in 87. My son corrected me and said 87. Take your phone with you. My son is going for a walk. Kidnappers, no, my son is going for a walk. You can now kidnap him. I'm trying to think of. I'm stoked for Mitchell versus the Machines. That's coming out. That looks.
I don't know that one.
Oh, dude, look it up. Look up the trailer. It's coming to Netflix soon. One of my favorite movies of the recent years that I watched the other night with my daughters. One of them was maybe a little too young for it, but Hunt for the Wilder People. Taika Waititi's film.
The one on Apple TV.
I don't know if it is or not. It was a theatrical indie movie. It was the movie Taika Waititi made before he made Thor Ragnarok, and it's a wonderful movie. Sam Neill and I'm forgetting everyone else's names. But yeah, man, you get a sense for the stuff that I'm into.
Kevin says good call, but he'll personally never stop talking about Breaking Bad or The Wire.
All right, listen, Kevin, let me tell you something. Better Call Saul is a better show than Breaking Bad.
I agree.
Far better show.
Is it?
I agree.
Yeah. See, I got into the second season and I just kind of like trailed off. It was I don't know.
Breaking Bad was epic.
Well, you can leave.
Breaking
See,
Bad was good all the way around, but the writing in Better Call Saul has just been so
I guess
good.
the thing is, like, I know where this eventually ends up, you know?
You don't know how it's going to get there, and it will surprise you if it's getting there.
And you don't know about the future, if they're going to show anything in the future. Like, this is the last season.
Right. Wrap that story up.
Yeah.
You don't know. There are certain characters that were not in Breaking Bad, and you don't know what their fate is and what is going to happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's freaking great.
You want to know if like Breaking Bad is going to show up?
Yeah, is Breaking Bad going to show up?
Yeah, it's like saying, "Hey, look, it's Halo."
Hey, look,
Dr. Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that? I love that meme. It's like same. It's from Breaking Bad. But it's like say my name, and he says Breaking Bad. So good.
That's funny.
If we're going into TV shows,
Yeah, we might as well. The other question was pasta or toast. That's good. That's fine. Yeah. Anyway,
I answered that on 3D Motion Show.
yeah,
I'm a toast guy.
The running gag has moved over here now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, all-time TV shows: West Wing, Parks and Rec, Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
Most recent, X-Files and stuff like that. Of course, there's like so many shows that it's like, good God, I love them, but I'm also have not only watched them through once, so I can't really call them favorites of all time. Yeah. Recently, Ted Lasso, Schitt's Creek.
Oh,
so
everybody's
good.
and
Awesome.
Season 2 of Ted Lasso is supposed to be coming out too.
I'm very excited because that was a healing show. That show
was a
That's what
healing
everybody
show.
says.
It just made us all better. It made us all feel better and be better. And oh my God, it was so good.
It was.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes, like, it's not often you get just such a wholesome character that you root for them. I think Schitt's Creek is the same way. That family is just as weird as they are. They're such just a wonderful, wholesome family.
Dude,
What I loved about Schitt's Creek was I expected it started off pretty cynical and snarky.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to stay that way. And it warms up. I love anything that warms up faster than you expect it to.
Yeah.
Hunt for the Wilder People is one of those. You watch it and you think it's going to be a certain tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it very quickly warms up and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea I was going to love people this quickly in this story.
Mortal Kombat? You're not going to say Mortal Kombat's your new favorite movie?
Yeah, totally, bro.
Dude, I caught like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, this is an awful storyline.
I'm not a Mortal Kombat guy. I wasn't allowed to play video games growing up until I was an adult. So all my favorite video games are like Portal 2 and Half-Life and stuff that like I played as an adult.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat
and
and Street Fighter.
Gravity Falls with my son recently, and that show is absolutely perfect.
Which one?
Which show was that?
Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah.
I watched a couple episodes. I love the style, and I've heard a lot of good things about it.
And the Rick
that's
and
like
Morty
that's like
tie-ins.
same
universe.
Avatar, The Last Airbender to me, where so many people have said it's such a good show. I just haven't sat down and watched the entire thing.
Same with Avatar, and I was that way with Gravity Falls for a long time. And then my son just watched it, and it was like, oh my God, this is good. I might like this more than you do, boy. This is so good.
Amazing World of Gumball is a good one to watch with your kids if you want to.
I love Gumball.
Oh man, I saw this funny TikTok, and I'm pretty sure it was from The Amazing World of Gumball, where it's like, this is a kid's show talking about eating vegetables.
It's good.
I haven't
It's
seen it.
a really good show.
I'll have to see if I can find it.
Yeah, my daughter's like obsessed with it, and she puts it on, and it's one of those things where, like, a few years ago she was watching shows that were very hard to even stomach if they were on in the same room, and now it's like, okay, this I can do this. This is fine. Mm-hmm. My grandmother.
That's my thing, man. That's like people ask me like what I feel like whether I want to make or I just want it to exist. I'm so tired of having to wait until 11:93 p.m. to watch anything that I want to actually watch that's actually really good once my kids are asleep. Like, I love like
Paddington. By then you're so exhausted.
I love anything like Paddington where like I almost like it more than my kids do.
Yeah,
you know what I
or
mean?
Adventure Time or regular show. like all those kind of borderline. And your kid has to be a little older.
Did you have you watched the Captain Underpants movie?
I've seen it
not into
out of order.
I can't do Captain Underpants. Doesn't
so
or Uncle Grandpa.
Captain Underpants,
no.
the movie,
no, Kevin, no.
was so good. Like I went into it expecting nothing, and I was so pleasantly surprised. It was an excellent movie. And then on top of it, the Captain Underpants TV show that's on Netflix is fantastic.
I've actually heard that. Yeah.
They play so much on the viewer and like the filmmaker aspect of it. It's so funny. Like they break the fourth wall all the time, and it's hilarious to me. There was this one episode where like they're gonna do this big fight between Captain Underpants and some other thing, and they're like, and now the totally expensive, overpriced, blah blah blah, stop action claymation scene, you know, and it starts going into it, and they're like, as they go along, they're like, oh no, we've got to hurry up and finish this because we're losing budget. And then the characters start getting less and less interesting or less and less detailed. It is hilarious. It's so funny. I definitely recommend it. And if you've got boys, they'll enjoy it. Yeah,
my grandmother accidentally, I guess, made a commentary on kids programming sometime last year when I was over at my parents' house and had my daughter there and everything, and she was watching. She just put on like some children's station, a Cartoon Network or something, right? And it's just playing, and my grandma was like, "Why are all the characters in these shows all screaming?" And it's very true. And she's got like a hearing aid and stuff, so I can understand that it's even more amplified. But it really is like it's a kind of that it's like Dora. Dora is always
not just Dora. Wait till you get to the live action stuff. The live action stuff is where I'm like all the, you know, I grew up on like all that and Keenan and Kel and stuff. So like I do have a soft spot for like Brian Robbins and Dan what's his name, who like he created all of these shows, like, but my kids are watching through like Victorious and iCarly and things like that, and on Netflix. And I just, as a director, want to tell all the kids, ground yourself, just calm down, and like, just deliver it naturally. That's not the show. It's not the show they're making. These shows are all about kids yelling and being smart aleck and like sarcastic. And I'm like,
but even
please calm down.
Cartoons, and some of these cartoons, even the kids that are just a lot. Actually, Amazing World of Gumball does this too. A lot of the characters just talking regular are screaming.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's almost like think about it as about like compression when you're watching a TV show and there's audio compression and everything is just so super loud. It's just everything has to be at 0 dB. It's like, why can't we have any dynamics in any of these shows? I don't know.
If you're just tuning in, welcome to the Old Man Hour, where
we'll be
my oldest kid
old man yells at clouds.
My oldest kid loves Dude Perfect, you know.
Yeah,
watch
my
it
son
on
too.
YouTube all the time, right? But if you've ever seen the Dude Perfect TV show on Nickelodeon, they don't scream and yell and get excited. He doesn't like that as much. But me personally, I love the Dude Perfect show on Nickelodeon. I mean, I like both of them, but I feel like the show
YouTube
was much more put together.
YouTube videos with YouTubers, they are all yelling, and the candor is completely just off the charts the entire time, where you're like 20 minutes of somebody who never comes down a peg at all. It's like, dude, just like chill for at least a second. Give us some dips, give us some ups and downs in this this narrative a little bit. Or else it's just like you end up turning off the video.
Yeah.
Anyway.
100%.
All right, music.
The Old Man Hour.
Favorite music.
Love it.
Music, speaking of Old Man Hour.
Yeah.
Look, you guys followed me. Like, you guys followed Mixmaster Mike with me. Like, I still can't get over that. Beastie Boys, huge. I'm just going to, like, name a bunch. It's all over the place, man. My taste is really weird.
I don't know why the chat's not working, but I'm still reading it, I promise.
Alt J, Bleachers, Churches, Pixies, Arcade Fire, David Bowie, David Byrne, Gary Newman, Beastie Boys, and maybe 3, Metavari, my friend Make 'Em in Vanity Set, who scored my last short. Electronic stuff like Mitch Murder, Phoenix. It's kind of that alternative electronic, little bit of 80s synth stuff in there as well. Pretty predictable once you feed that into the algorithm, what gets fed back to me. But also the problem is I confuse the algorithm because I'm also for years only listened to film score. Because it got to college and it was like Coldplay, Wilco, all of these Radiohead, all of every band that you get into when you're in college at our age. And when after several years, I just got tired of the pretense of music, which is a pretentious thing to say in itself. But I would just listen to film scores because I became obsessed with all I wanted to do was make movies and imitate movies or recreate movies or whatever. So I would just listen to film scores, and that still is a huge part of what I listen to. I think, it's like you list that stuff. It's like John Williams, Alan Silvestri, John Carpenter, like all that obvious stuff. But I think some of the most exciting composers right now working are Emile Mosseri. I've never said his name out loud, so I probably mispronounced it, but he did Last Blank Man in San Francisco. He did Homecoming Season 2. He did Minari. One of the most interesting composers working right now. Daniel Pemberton is one of them. Good God. Spider-Verse alone is like one of the greatest scores ever. His Steve Jobs score that he did is, I think, one of the best scores in recent years. And then like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Ludwig Göransson, another name I haven't said out loud before, but
the Social Network soundtrack. Oh, so good. That was on repeat for probably like 2 months when it came out. Still is.
And their score for Watchmen was unreal on the HBO Watchmen, which was also utterly fantastic. And they also their score for Soul, Pixar's Soul, just now,
so good.
Make me weep, man. Make it playing at my office and crying alongside Thomas Newman's Finding Nemo score.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Finding Nemo, dude, that played at we were at Disney World. My kids were a little younger. My wife was putting my son to bed, and I walked down to like the general store in the resort we were staying on to get a bottle of wine or something. And I passed the swimming pool where they were projecting Finding Nemo on an inflated screen. And I turned around, ran right back to the hotel room, and I was like, wake Elliot up. I'm taking him downstairs to the pool. He's going to swim and watch Finding Nemo.
That's fun.
And at a certain point, that Thomas Newman score is like swelling, and my son turns to me in the pool and says, "Thanks for bringing me here, Daddy." And I was like, I am so glad we're in water because I am weeping everywhere. Oh man,
that's so funny.
So
how old are your kids?
I don't even remember, man. There's so many of them and they're so old. No, I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old or 7-year-old. She's 7 now.
Okay. I have a 7 and a 1. So
man, 7's a fun age.
No, it's not.
I think it's better.
Yeah, I hope so.
Boy or girl for 7?
Boy. Both of them are boy.
I am told that like boys are insane when they're younger, and then they even out, and then like your girls are perfect when they're younger, and then they'll turn on you right when you're around the same age. So
yeah.
Can't wait.
Yep.
What else do we have on the list? Your plug-in. And render engines don't count.
I am
I
very interested to know this one.
That's the thing. Red Giant's listening. They're gonna.
Well,
if you don't mention a Red Giant plugin,
right.
This is the benefit of my job, and this is gonna sound like I'm lying, but literally, like they could fire me tomorrow, and I'll tell you the same thing. SuperComp completely changed my workflow, and completely made my work as a compositor it changed everything. It's just one of the my go-to useful plugins for VFX. Trapcode, however, is the thing that got me noticed by Red Giant, got me my job. And it's also, Trapcode is like building something in Trapcode is a lot like, it's like piloting the Enterprise. If you can do it, you feel like you are a scientist. And with any really, robust plugin or program. But yeah, man, I gotta say Supercomp because that's the one that really just like changed for me.
Red Giant's got the little eyeballs in the chat. I know chat's not working on the screen for some reason, but
I would love to see Supercomp become its own program.
Yeah, I would too.
Like for me, ideal world. I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big thinker. Right. I'm an idea man.
I'm a people person.
In my Maxon ideal world, I would love to see Supercomp become its own program and be able to, or like even built into Cinema and be able to use all the Maxon stuff together, or the Maxon Red Giant stuff together in one universe. That's my ideal world.
That sounds awesome.
And have all the Red Giant stuff in one universe. A Red Giant universe, if you would.
It would be awesome. And here's the thing. I'll tell you right now, I know so little that I can literally sit here and tell you that would be awesome without having to sound like I'm like covering anything up.
Right.
We could be building it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
But we may not be building it. I literally actually have no idea if we are. But what you just described sounds very cool.
No, I have always felt, and EJ likes to make the joke that jumping into After Effects is like going to the rest stop toilet where you try and get in and get out as fast as you can. And
I don't totally agree with that, but yeah.
There goes our chat. Chat's working now. There we go.
I feel like, I don't know, like After Effects it's a great container, but then it's also not a great container. I think that's all that After Effects is. It's a container. That's what it's become, at least. A container for everyone else's plugins. Right, exactly. Yes, they have their own stuff, their own effects, but it has basically become a container to where everyone else can make plugins for it.
And what happens when everybody makes stuff for Windows is that everybody stays on Windows, and then it's like, well, you could do this in Linux. I could. Why would, see, my thought is with Supercomp specifically, why would you want to rely on a container that can be broken, or that can break your own software, when you could just create the software yourself in an external program and then it not be broken? You control whether it's broken or not. The thing is, there's an ecosystem around After Effects. I don't know. That's why people aren't like, what is it called? Cavalry. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be the After Effects killer. Well, where is it now? Yeah. Everybody's gonna get into Nuke, or everybody's gonna get into whatever. And then it doesn't happen. Why is that?
There's also something very fun, though, like personally, about now that I know I'm using Supercomp, I'm doing less compositing in my, in just the building construction of the comp itself. And like in the animation. Before, it was like I was doing a little bit of compositing here and there as I was animating, or as I was, doing layout even. But now that I know of Supercomp, it's like I know exactly the work. It's even weirdly a more linear workflow in my head. I'm like doing layout and doing animation. I'm pre-comping just the right things in just the right way, and everything looks really bad for a long time. And it's the same reason that like the way color grading and color correction has for a period of time, it became really subdued and flat. That was like the style for a little while. Yeah, it was the worst period of time. No one knew how to color correct correctly. Yeah, they just it was always, it was just log. It was, hey, look, and you'd see breakdowns where colorists would be like, here you can see I enhanced the greens and the oranges and this to enhance, and it would be like nothing. It's like less contrast somehow from the log. From the flat. If you can't fix it, feature it. And the biggest reason, the problem with that is you work so hard on something, you need it to suddenly come alive again at the at the 11th hour of the project. You need it to like something like color grading or something. The mix does this too, but something to just make it brand new again for your eyes have been staring at it for all this time, so you can be pumped to release it to the to the world and to feel like it's done. And it's kind of, Super Comp really allows that, because you're like, I do the whole comp and then I'm like, time to run it through Super Comp, and I set it all up, and suddenly it's looked bad for 98% of the process, and now suddenly it looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and I kind of like that process, and so like having it in After Effects. This is me speaking of Seth Worley, not at all.
Sure.
Red Giant or
Sure.
Yeah.
Seth Worley's opinions do not necessarily reflect
again,
those
this-
of Maxon or
Exactly.
Red Giant.
This goes back to that
No commitment
limit deck to
necessary.
deck.
Must be
That
present.
broken deck. Oh, what? Sorry.
Sorry, I'm just doing fine print commentary.
Oh, good.
Just covering.
It's
just,
important.
just
Someone
little
needs to
CYA
for me.
for you, so you're all good. You keep
The
your job.
this goes back to the deck to deck SVHS, broken, thing is like, there's something really satisfying about using something that may not be 100% reliable. In this case, talking about After Effects, not Super Comp, but like, there's something about making it work for you, and like that is really satisfying. For, I guess, sadists like me who hate themselves, maybe. I don't know.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. I don't know if I think I typed up a tweet, but I never actually sent it. I do that a lot. And I said, I swear motion designers are masochists. They just love using programs that just crash on them every single day, and they love it
That's
for
why we all
some
moved
reason.
back to Windows, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God, that got dark. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway, what were we talking about? Which one am I?
I don't
Well,
remember.
that was my
Dave, right?
plugin.
Okay.
Super Comp.
Super comp. Every time I see one of you guys working in Super Comp, all I want to do is work in Super Comp all the time. Y'all make it look so easy, but I just haven't had the time to sit down with it. Anytime someone says, what's a great Red Giant plugin? Super Comp is always my answer, even though I have never actually been in it.
I like
That's
how
funny.
Red Giant and Maxon both put the eyeballs looking
Yeah, right.
in the chat. That's funny.
They're watching
It's
me.
just-
They're
It's
reminding
probably
me
the
I have to be
same,
very
same
careful.
person
It
just
probably is
logging
the
in
same
under the
person.
same one.
It's all Kevin.
Yeah, it's all Kevin.
Kevin's all
Kevin's
the way
just
down.
hopping on from account to account.
Yeah.
It's actually not the same person, from what I understand.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I
It's
don't
not.
think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, guys,
Kevin's
come
just
on.
Maxon.
Respect both people.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
What else we got, Dave?
Let's see. I was looking at chat. It looks like the chat's good now. App. What is your go-to muscle memory app on your phone?
So many of them. As we said before, I have too many things. I use every day. I don't know. A day doesn't go by when I don't use IA Writer, Day One, Airtable, Shortcuts. I've been using Polycam a lot for LiDAR scanning, especially as I've been moving into this new house and like trying to design, put furniture in a house and stuff and take measurements. Also, Polycam is great for if you do a buddy of mine showed me this. It's great for if you are like, if you're shooting a scene, like take a like LiDAR scan of your whole lighting setup in the set. So if you have to come back for reshoots, you can know exactly where you had everything.
Yep.
That's super cool.
This app I love lately that a friend introduced me to is called Craft. I think the website is craft.do. And you guys are going to be like another thing, Worley, but it's like where I said Airtable is spreadsheets on Craft is like documents on Craft. And it's been great for me to organize. Like, so I'm planning a couple projects that are not, they're podcasts. I have a couple podcasts that are in development, and it's been great to be able to put those into this format, because it's also it's a great presentation tool as well. And I'm using it for, we were talking about that messaging for like when you book a guest and you want to give them, your rundown and handbook of like, here are the specs, here's, I need you to record on your end. I have one link I send them to this document, and it's like a Q&A almost. And there's like modular of like where basically it's like the big questions are on top, and then it's like if you want to know more about the podcast, like here's some information down here. It's really great for organizing ideas, like early raw thoughts of ideas, and also getting them in a presentable format. So I've really liked using that.
It looks like it has kind of a Notion feel as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think definitely.
Yeah. In fact, this person on Twitter said just installed Craft Docs app to look at a doc, and wow, this is slick, fast, native on Mac. Sorry, Notion.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm destroying Notion in this episode. For mail, TwoBird is a mail app that I've been using and I love a lot. Really clean. It feels like Slack. It's really that aesthetically pleasing, superficiality of me.
Right.
But it's cool. I like it.
What about video games?
So I haven't gotten super into something recently. Dumb app that I've loved recently, though, playing Bomb Squad Academy.
All right.
Okay.
You're just snipping wires and tripping circuits, and it's really fun. The last game that I got really into... they just announced Oxenfree 2. I really liked the first Oxenfree. I'm a big fan of like these.
As in Ollie Ollie?
As in Ollie Ollie, yeah. It's a narrative kind of RPG puzzly kind of game. Those are my kind of thing. I love my favorite game of all time is Portal 2.
Oh, so
and because I love any way you can turn a puzzle game into a narrative, and that one also works in like character so well.
Yeah.
That game's still perfect in my eyes. But what did I'm always late to games. I'm not. Again, I grew up. I wasn't allowed to have video games, so I'm always like defining things 2 years after they're
you guys
big.
hear about this?
So
Mario?
like, I just recently played Uncharted, A Thief's End, and I was like, this is the coolest game I've ever played. I freaking love this. But I'm also a filmmaker, so I get really into really cinematic games. Like Halo 3 blew my mind when it first came out. I remember I bought an Xbox just to play Halo 3 because I was like, this is a freaking movie.
I bought an Xbox just to play Halo 5.
Yeah.
Yeah? Nice.
Yeah. I bought a new Xbox just to play the new version of Halo that has slightly better graphics.
Right.
Nice.
And I was on the last version of the Xbox, which has those better graphics. So I bought an Xbox.
And see no difference.
I don't know why.
Whoops.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. You're going to have to play. Do you have Halo 5?
I don't. I didn't even know there was a Halo 5.
Man.
Yeah.
It's like 5 or 6 years old at this point.
Well, I thought it moved into the spin-off stuff where it was like prequel
Halo
stuff.
Reach and Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was temporary. This is the best one by far. All the things you can do. You can run now. You can
Is it still Master Chief?
And all that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Halo's in there. You can play
Halo. Halo's in there.
Yeah, it's Halo.
Halo's in there.
Good.
Yeah, you got to get on there with this, man. You play some Halo 5. It's fun. It's
Now that's all I
definitely
wanna
the
do.
best version. Last question, and I know Matt, I think has. Do you have to go? Do you have a hard out, or are you good today?
Do. I got to pick up my kid at 2:50. I have to leave the house at 2:50,
Okay.
so we've still got some time.
All right, because we got to get to the drop. But the last question,
we'll make the drop quick.
Is life hack, and Mitch Myers says you turn the toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese.
That's great. I love that one.
Yeah. So what would you say? And this doesn't have to be like life hack-ish, like in the toaster kind of way. It could be about productivity or anything.
I trying to think of the right one. So there's some really nerdy ones I could dive into. They're very niche. I'm thinking.
What's your number one? What's your biggest, most useful life hack?
Well, my most useful life hack is my whole side company. It's the way that I outline stories is in the form of a clock. If instead of laying out a story linear from beginning, middle, end on a line, picture it like a clock and use symmetry to extract ideas from what you already have. So when you get an idea for a story or a wedding toast or anything that's narrative in any way, you start with some ideas. You don't have like a fully formed idea in your head, but you have like, I know I want to talk about this. I know I want to talk about this. And I know I might want to end with this. Maybe I'll open with this. So you start with this blank clock and you put stuff where you think it could probably fall, where you think it will probably happen. And then you find the gaps and the blank areas, and then just look on the opposite sides of the clock and see, is there something over here that I can set up or build or like
so
foreshadow?
good.
Is there something up here that I can build on or pay off? And it's a really, really, really great way to very quickly get to a full outline and in a way that's organic, and you're not. I had a film professor once tell me that comedy can only be extracted, it can never be injected, and I feel that way about story ideas in general, that like the best stuff needs to feel like it was extracted from something that was already there. And so that's my process for writing and outlining in that way. And if you want a notebook to be able to do it, you can buy the Story Clock notebook at plotdevices.co or the Story Clock workbook at plotdevices.co. But that's my ultimate like number one life hack, and that's helped me tremendously in writing, in giving wedding toasts, in writing and directing commercials and ads, and writing ad copy, everything, man. That's my number one thing.
All right, I'm gonna have to do that next.
That's
time
cool.
I write
That's
something.
great. I really like that. I really like
Thanks.
that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys. This was so freaking fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we got to do the drop.
We got to do the drop. We'll make it quick.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You ready? Let's go.
Let's do it.
Drop.
Is this the fucking mic?
Drop.
This is exactly what I should be doing.
What's up, and welcome to this week's episode of The Drop, your weekly source for all things NFT and crypto art, as well as upcoming drops by notable people in the Mograph industry. Joining us today is Mr. Seth Worley. Thanks
Hello.
for joining us. Let's jump into this. It's a pretty cool. It's a good week.
I
Let me
would
see,
just
I
like
gotta
to
see.
add, if you haven't heard about it, to check us out for the live episode of The Drop this Thursday with David Aria.
Correct.
And Luis Miranda and special guest collector Peter. I hope I know how to say his last name correctly, but Peter Costi. I think it's Costi. Or Peter Costi.
Sure,
So
we'll go with that.
Thursday. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Awesome. Okay, so notable drops, and a reminder for everyone: if you're doing a drop, feel free to send us in. It's info@mograph.com. We will post them for listener drops. Let's see. First up, on the big places, Nifty and Maker's Place, 426. We've got Ruben Wu. Rubian Wu. I don't know. I saw this one. I thought it was really cool. I don't know if he's actually, or if they're actually light painting, or whether, and that's photography, but it feels like some of those classic like Beeple Stuzor, glowing sphere type stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. Next up, we've got Max Wayne and Nate Hill. This one I specifically put on there because I thought it was awesome that it seemed like the musician was all about supporting the drop. So if you're doing a drop with a musician, I definitely recommend having the musician, post it, because otherwise I don't care. If the musician who's doing a drop doesn't care, then neither do I. But I think this one's cool. I thought it was really pretty. I love the noir aesthetic of it, super cool stuff. That's on the 26th, which is today. Next up, 427, we've got I'm gonna say this name wrong, Luigi Honorat, and I don't even remember what I put. Oh yeah, I thought this one was super cool. It's like some of this like glass type stuff, and I don't know, like abstract neat stuff. I thought that one was pretty cool. So that's a fun one to check out. Next, the same day. This one was super cool, and I'm going to mess up all these names because I don't know them. Steve Aoki and Masij Kusara? I'm sure I messed that up.
That is a tough one.
But super cool 2D looking, like very Studio Ghibli type animations, like way cool. And these ones, they've got some open editions for only like $333. It's a really great entry point for people who are looking to get into any sort of collecting or anything like that. And really pretty stuff. Next up, 428. We've got our good friend, Mr. Frederick Duquette, otherwise known as Fuckrender. People know him as Fuckrender.
Now, I don't have a link for this.
I don't have a link, right, because he didn't post anything. But
he's not
because we know him and he's not shilling anything, which normally I wouldn't say anything about. But because we know him, we know he does good work, and we know that he doesn't need a shill anymore. He's worth like $4 million, right?
Something. Who knows?
Yeah, so he's got a drop on 428. 429, Cruella and Sasha Vinogradova. Sasha we had on the show last week, and she was talking about her drop. So super excited about this one. This one will be pretty cool.
You mentioned this earlier, and you said something about Cruella, and I was thinking it had something to do with the Cruella DeVille movie.
No.
Okay, all right. Now I know who you're talking about.
No,
with a K.
They collaborated on some stuff. Yeah, this one's gonna be good. So next up, and I think the big one, 430 will be Beeple. I didn't put a link there, but basically,
is there something up? Do we know what it is?
Yeah. He's got 4 pieces that are coming up. Let me see if I can find it on Twitter. Real quick.
Is it on his Twitter? Because I can just go look.
It is on his Twitter, yeah.
Oh, okay,
so he's got 4 pieces coming up. I believe they're either $1 or they're $7.
Oh, here,
but according to his Twitter or whatever, you have to answer questions about the everydays in order to even be eligible.
Is it going to be something easy, or is it going to be like
I have no idea.
Like you have to dive deep.
I have no idea. So I don't know. Either way, that could be fun. I mean, if you're willing to put in the work, you can sell it for a fair amount of money or whatever. But all of these, go down. All of them include physical copies and stuff. Yeah, I know. I thought it was pretty cool. So that's 4:30. I believe that's Friday. Is that right? 9:30. Yeah.
I think so.
So Friday, 4:30. So that'll be cool. Go down one more, Dave.
All of his things,
and the video for it is weird, man. I love you, Mike, but man, I don't know the
video
poop in your pants thing. Did you ever see the poop in his pants thing? He was like pooping his pants or something like that, and it was really weird. I was like, all right, I don't.
Who's pooping
whatever.
their pants?
I'm pretty sure it was Mike who was pretending like he just was in underwear and he was pooping his pants.
Where is this video? Is this like an Instagram story?
It was on Instagram. Yeah.
This sounds like Mike. It doesn't sound.
I mean, it sounds normal to me. But
it does, I guess. Yes, but still, it was weird, and I was like, Mike, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he's like, okay, I'm rich. I'm the one of the biggest artists in the world right now. I can do whatever I want. If I want to make a video of me crapping my pants, I can. All right, cool. It was weird. Yes, it was very weird. So, but 4:30, that's that'll be good. Mm-hmm. And if it's only $1, you have no reason not to.
That's right.
Cool.
At those
Next
prices,
up on
you can't
Maker's
afford not to.
right. For Maker's Place on 4/27 tomorrow, Alan Bolton and House Trap. I thought this one was really cool. One thing I got to say that I really like about Maker's Place is they actually give a preview of what the drops are going to be, versus relying entirely on the artist to post stuff. I feel like there's so much more cryptic on nifty drops and stuff. You never know what you're going to buy until literally the second it drops.
This is a house,
if you go down,
House Trap? Is that
I don't know. I wonder if that's
somehow?
I would assume so. Centered around past
it's a
clients
multi-genre platform, extensively serving as an authoritative voice for dance music heavyweights like Skrillex, Feed Me, Chris Lake, Rez.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Skrillex and Rez are on the Mouse Trap. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And more. Dead Mouse's prolific Mouse Trap label boasts home.
There you go.
Okay, that makes sense.
If you go down, you can see what the actual piece is. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay.
Kind of pretty looking stuff. You got to hit play. So, neat looking stuff. I like that. I think it's cool. It's very the NFT, aesthetic.
Does it have a name?
So,
does this piece have a name?
The drop. I don't know.
The drop. I mean, that just says that.
Anyway.
That's Mind Games.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they
Mind
should call
Games.
it
There
Mind
you go.
Games,
Yeah.
but it's called Mind Games.
Next up, 429, Lucas Zanotto. I feel like we've seen this artist before, but anyways, this was super cool. I love it.
We totally have.
Yeah, this one is so much fun. I love this one.
Yeah, because
so,
he creates
really
all
fun.
these satisfying animations and things.
Yeah. So, and I love that. It's so neat. Anyway.
Yeah.
So fun little animations and stuff.
Those are fun. See, these would be great ones to have displayed somewhere. I did buy, by the way, and I'll let you know how this goes. I bought some things from Infinite Objects.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how that.
Cool.
How those turn out. They're in the box. I haven't opened it up yet.
Cool. So as far as the no, that's it for the main drops. Community drops. First up, we've got Raid Zero just did a drop on Foundation. Super cool stuff. We love ourselves some Phil. Some Raid Zero. Yeah. Next up, we got Sakani Solomon. Literally just dropped this like maybe a few hours ago.
Yeah.
On Twitter. So this is a drop on Super Rare. Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you wanna, you can see the behind the scenes on one of the Maxon. It was either NAB or SIGGRAPH. I think it was NAB.
Yeah, it was a little while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But like he broke down the entire thing, and it was super cool. That's awesome. He's got that one up for sale. That's great. Next up, we got let's skip Ross and Gurns real quick because I want to talk about those. Yeah. Next one up is Joe Dia. Did a drop on Hiktunik. I don't know how to say that.
That's the one that everybody's. That's the one Tokyo.
Yeah, that one's
Megs
the new hot shit right now because everyone's super excited because there's very little mint fees, but I think you have to buy everything in Tezos or something. I don't know.
You have to buy it in some random currency.
Yeah. Anyway, that one. Next up, we got Sarah Gibson. Sarah Gibson did her.
You got that. Cool.
Yeah.
Put it in the
you got
dingus
it
already. I do have it.
It's in the dingus.
It is. In the
this one on Rarible. Love this
something
one.
Went wrong.
Oh no, something went wrong.
Uh-oh.
No.
I'll get it.
He'll get it.
Probably something technical.
It was the one I believe we talked about this when she was on the show. It was the NFT. It was the glitter with the poop. I love it. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I can't get anything
but she minted it
on here.
No.
Is Rarible being weird?
I think it worked. Yeah, it worked for me.
It's probably on her Twitter, right? I'll just go from there.
Here. There you go.
Oh, you put the link.
Did that work for you? Yeah, there you go. It's in the dingus.
Fudge Factory.
Fudge Factory.
Was she talking about this?
Yeah, she was talking about this one.
Okay, there we go.
So,
there we go. Now we got it.
Got it? Oh, yeah, it's so good. I love it. It's so good. So that was Sarah Gibson.
It's literally polishing a turd.
Right.
A little bit of glitter, yeah.
Yep. Next up, we got our boy G-Rant. G-Rant posted a new drop on Foundation. Do you got that one too, Dave?
Sure do.
There you go. Super satisfying. Very pretty. Love it.
I like the. I wonder how he did the little pinky purpley thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting looking.
Probably something in Houdini.
Yeah.
Okay, and now next up we've got Ross Morris. Ross Morris has been doing this thing called Cryptobiotica. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But this is the new thing, and I don't know 100% about it. We need to get Ross on the show. Like on an episode of The Drop in order to talk about this.
He told me about this way back in the day when he was concocting it.
Like he's been working on this for like a few, like a month or so,
Check this out. A few years ago, that feel like decades now, our lab was tuning this interpreted imaging equipment that allowed us to glimpse into the digital world as the physical. So it's like this virtual lens. So these are like close-ups of these digital elements, like the digital life forms. Right? The small dots littering our imagery believed to be a simple noise issue the whole time appeared to move from frame to frame in a way that noise artifacts should not, as we skipped back and forth between them. So
it's interesting.
you're gonna
So
have
if
to
you click
follow
on the
this. Yeah.
click on the Gurnge Maker's Place
Is this
link.
related?
So yes. So
know
Gurnge
that.
did. So it's
Oh.
Cryptobiotica,
All
right? And Gurnge did one. This is the first
Ah.
phase evolution. And it
Oh,
was
it's
discovered
evolution.
by Gurnge. I don't know. It's really, really interesting. I have like I love the story that's built around the NFT.
There's a way that like these can evolve. That's the whole cool part about these is that these can mix and match and like have babies or something.
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
parent
It's
species, Ether Pearl and Shifter. This is a great
great idea.
Yeah.
This
We
is
gotta get
super
'em on the
cool
show.
idea. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, check
I
this
think
out.
that's all we've got for the community
Gotta
drops.
catch them all, right?
Yeah, right.
Gotta catch them all.
Seth, have you dropped any NFTs?
I have two. They're rather silly. Well, one of them is. One of them, I'm on Foundation, the Seth Worley. There's one called Honey I Shrunk ET, where it's the Skalinsky shrink ray machine shrinking my ET prop replica, and that was more of an experiment. And well, they're both experiments. The other one is the earliest VFX shot from Darker Colors, which is a feature I'm still developing in a short that I made for Red Giant last year. They're on there. I've not expected them to. So I am considering minting my very first short film I ever made.
Really?
Just for fun, another experiment. It's from all the way back in 2003, shot on mini DV with my little brother when he was 12 years old as the star. But if that goes up, then you can find it there at my Foundation profile.
That's cool. Very cool.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, look who it is.
Hey,
Hello, Dorpy.
how's it going?
It's good.
Yeah.
We meet again.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was buying some Dogecoin. You know, people say
course.
that crypto's crashing, but I say they're just crying wolf.
The look on the side is so good.
Yeah. But honestly, I think the NFT space is just finally normalizing a little bit, you know? What I do know is that there's definitely what they call a long tail. Yeah. So this industry will keep going strong. You know, I'm not an economist, though. I just have my master's in barchaeology.
Barky.
Anyway, yeah, it was good to see you. I gotta go. Really busy doing these NFTs, and I have to finish up a rather large FTP file transfer on Fetch.
Bye. The mouth open
Freaking
for
dorky,
them.
man. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Came for the Mograph, stay for the Dorpy.
Stay for the Dorpy. Dorpy, check out his other stuff on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Follow us on mograph.com.
Yeah.
Anything else NFT wise? Just make sure to if you've got a drop coming up, hit us up at info@mograph.com. Also, make sure to check out the special on Thursday. We're going to be going over like collecting and what it means to be a collector and stuff like that. I think it'll be really interesting talking about that currently because, you know, with the NFT market kind of slowing down a bit, you know, I feel like I do believe it's normalizing. This is the thing that I've been saying for months now is that there's the big rush and then it's going to become a normal part of every day, you know, and that'll eventually be what it is, you know.
Absolutely.
That'll be it.
Yep.
So anyway, cool.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here
for the drop.
Drop. Is this the fucking mic drop? This is exactly what I should be doing.
All right.
See, Seth, you were supposed to be singing during that time.
Yeah.
What happened?
The drop, it's happening. There you go.
You dropped the ball on that one. There it is.
That for not.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we got for today. I think that was a
Seth,
pretty
thank you
good
so
short
much
show
for
2.5
Guys,
hours.
thanks for having me. This was so
coming
fun.
and hanging out.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We really appreciate you coming on the show and spending 3 hours of your time with us on your birthday.
Thank you for giving me something to do. This was a blast. For
That's
real.
good. Good. I totally dig your work. I think the stuff that you're doing is fantastic.
You guys
know,
too.
I
Thank
can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. You know, I'll be able to say I knew Seth Worley when.
And maybe we can hang out in person eventually.
Yeah,
You know?
totally.
Is that
come
the
to
thing?
come to Camp Mograph.
Yeah.
Come to Camp Mograph.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I've always thought that thing sounded like a blast, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I know. I'm pretty sure Red Giant purchased a couple tickets, so you should be in there and be like, "Hey, give me that ticket.
Yeah.
Give me that ticket." So.
True. Cool. Well, we're going to get out of here. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review. You can also subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. Helped get our ratings up. I haven't gone and looked at reviews in a while. I don't know if anybody's written anything on iTunes or whatever, but you can also subscribe to our
give us a review. I don't know if it's there
only
or
if
not.
it's good. And
Yeah.
the newsletter goes out every once in a while. I try to do it like monthly and things, just so you can get an update on what we've been up to, what we've been doing, which you may have missed. There's always an article or an event here or there. We don't expect you all to be completely obsessive about us, but the newsletter will help you find out the stuff you missed. So subscribe to that. You can also say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Feel the Bab Classic 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee. That render is fire t-shirt, which you're only allowed to wear ironically.
Unless you're shams. Yeah.
And the Mograph Blandishment Retro Throwback shirt. And that's about it. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mograph.com. And Seth, if people want to find you, you've got sethworley.com. What about like Insta and all that? What are you?
Insta, I'm the Seth Worley, and on Twitter, I'm Awakeland3D.
Awakeland 3D. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was back. It was from back in the days before we all used our names for things.
That's how it happens. You get stuck with that one screen name from 30 years ago.
Wolfman 379.
Some
Punch
stoner
69.
ends up with your real name before you know to get to it.
Right. Seth Worley 420.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my full name. Yes.
Right.
I don't know why of course it's taken.
Took my whole full name of my whole legal surname of Seth Worley 420. That's like Elon Musk naming right there. You can't put numbers in your name.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it.
Awesome.
That's it.
Yep.
Thanks a lot again, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around the interwebs and maybe on some Maxon streams and things like that. So.
Yeah, man.
Totally.
Cool. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
I'm not.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.